and gentlemen, let's go. Let's go. We ain't got no time to waste. Let's go. You are now listening to Jason Anderson, and you are in the zone.
You're in the zone with Jason Anderson on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Why? We lost to the Jags! The Jags!
You're in the zone on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right, a Monday edition of The Zone right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. It's not that reaction today around here. Woo, boy. We lost to the Jags. They did. They did, in fact, lose to the Jags. Two-point conversion. Two different two-point conversion wins yesterday in the NFL. Jacksonville and the Chargers. We'll talk some Chiefs football, some NFL football today. It is a Monday edition of The Zone. Jason Anderson with you, Josh Brisco, and Beards. We head up until 2 o'clock. We've got you for the next 4 hours. Talking some NFL, talking some college football that we may get into today as well from the weekend that was. But tons of stuff to talk about. Field Yates joins us at noon. We'll hear from Andy Reid around 12:30 or so. Mick Shaffer, KSHB 41 Sports Director, will join us in the 1 o'clock hour. Another state championship that he will be celebrating when he comes into the studio today. I believe that's 17 in a row, it feels like. Maybe. I don't know. I think it's 4 in a row.
Do you think he slept yet? You think he's going to come in smelling like champagne?
No, he slept.
Any more than usual?
It wasn't called sleep. It was called passing out.
That's fair.
He's passed out for a while.
He had a few hours of unconsciousness.
That's right. And so we'll talk with Mick Shaffer. Learn Funniest Best coming up in the 1 o'clock hour, second segment. And, of course, day after a Chiefs game, we take your phone calls, 913-381-0810, to be a part of the show, part of the conversation, 913-381-0810, to weigh in your thoughts on the win versus the Rams in an odd feel of a game that it was a win, but it wasn't really fun. It's kind of an odd game. They still somehow covered the 15.5. You say the Chiefs go out there and they cover 15.5, and yet you don't exactly have like great feelings coming out of that game. Just kind of one of those, you get through, find a way to win, and apparently cover, and then move on to the Bengals coming up on Sunday afternoon there in Cincinnati. Again, 913-381-0810 is the phone number. 913-912-4810, the text line if you want to join us and be a part of the show. 913-912-4810. Again, Field Yates noon, Andy Reid coming up at 12:30. Mick Shaffer, 1 o'clock, Learn Funniest Best, all still to come as well. All right, so let's get into the game. Chiefs-Rams, they win 26-10. We'll catch up with Josh and what he did on his world tour.
Yeah.
Over the last couple of weeks.
We'll get there.
We'll get to all of that stuff and maybe just randomly jump into conversations about it. I don't know.
I'll find a way to mention, like, I just got a little sunburn still. Please feel bad for me.
No, I'm not going to. I'm just going to pat you on the back every time I see you.
You
Hey,
should.
buddy, how you doing? Just pat on the back, you know.
I deserve that.
Yes. So Chiefs get a pat on the back. They win. A win is a win. You never apologize in the NFL, as they say. Was it businesslike? Because I feel like, you say, boy, that was just a business-like win. What was the win this year that it was like earlier? Was it, wasn't the Chargers? Was it the Jags? Jags, it was like, you know what, that's a 27-17, kind of like business-like win. It could have been worse than that, late, touchdown. But whatever, they win the game. It's the first time the Jags had lost by, more than a score this year. Kind of like just get in there, get the win, get out, and get ready for the Chargers, right? One of those trap games. Tough Tennessee game, Jags, home, noon. Chargers, Sunday Night Football the next week. So win, get out of there. Rams this week. Wasn't a trap game because the Chiefs, you saw after the game was over against the Chargers that, hey, Super Bowl champions, Super Bowl champions coming to Arrowhead. Get ready. So it wasn't like they took the Rams lightly or saw that they were outclassed, outmanned when it comes to the injuries and the talent that was on the field. So I think they took him seriously. It's just some odd things that happen in a game. Just a weird feel, man. Just a weird feel. They get a win, they cover. It's like, I don't know. Kind of like just move. I didn't have a lot of fun watching the Chiefs yesterday. And that's not fun because I woke up yesterday morning and I thought, I get to watch Patrick Mahomes today.
Yep. I
get to watch the Chiefs play football today. I get to watch Patrick Mahomes, number 15, the GOAT, go out there and do his thing. And I'm like, it's fine. You win. Let's get ready for the Bengals. It's an odd feel. What did you take away and as you start your post game yesterday, fresh off that one?
Well, I mean, like, if you go take yourself back to the Travis Kelce touchdown 10 million years ago when it happened back in the first quarter, at that moment it was like, here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Start rubbing your hands together because it's going to be one of those games where they do some good things against a pretty solid Rams defense and hold the offense down, all of that. And really, I just think, and I gotta cop to this because Andy Reid very specifically said not to do this after I have already done it several times, but it felt kind of like the JV LA Rams. And Reid's point post-game was, he literally said, they're not the JV Rams, which he's right. The defense is still pretty good. It's not quite the Super Bowl Rams from last year. There's no Von Miller, obviously. But it's a good defense with their third-string quarterback and no Cooper Kupp and no Robinson. And so you eventually kind of talk yourself into it feeling a little bit like a preseason game. And they won that game by multiple possessions. It was never really super in doubt. Noah Gray's touchdown doesn't come off the board.
Yeah.
I think it all probably feels a little bit different. But by halftime, it just felt like a football game. We were all just hanging out. Chiefs are going to win. Are they going to give us anything to talk about? I don't know. But they're up by 10, and that offense was never going to erase a double-digit deficit.
And maybe that's why. Maybe there was no anxiety to that.
Yeah.
There was no real fear that you were going to lose that game. There was no real, any given Sunday. Chiefs come out there. They fumble the punt. But even with that, it was like
it was annoying.
Defense. Yeah, I was like, come on, get them off the field. We can talk about that.
Yep.
Here in a little bit. But even when that happened, it was the defense are going to stop as Bryce Perkins is out there. It wasn't necessarily JV because Aaron Donald, like it did feel like JV with a mixture of some varsity guys in there.
Yeah.
What it felt
JV
like was
offense.
JV offense. What it felt like is if you were to take Aaron Donald off the field, it felt like a Week 18, 17th game of the season.
Yeah.
Rams have already wrapped up the bye, or there's no win or loss that would change the next week, and let's rest some guys and get ready for the next week. That's kind of the Rams offense that it felt like. And the Rams team overall, just Donald and Ramsey on the field.
Yep.
That was really it. I guess Wagner, whatever, a few defensive players on the field, and you would have said those guys playing, they wouldn't have played in like Week 18 or whatever. That's
they had
kind
some
of the
Week
feel.
18 incentives, to try to hit.
That's right. And it was a win is a win is a win. And maybe that's it. Maybe it was the anxiety. Maybe it was or lack thereof that you just go through and win the game. And it is an element of being spoiled that they cover a 15.5-point spread. They win the game, and you're like, But it's the taste left in your mouth of the red zone trips in the fourth quarter.
I think so.
Because they had 3 of them, and all 3 of them failed. They have 3 red zone trips in the fourth quarter. They come away with 6 points. They run a total of 9 plays inside the 10-yard line, and they pick up 5 yards on the 4th and 5th drive.
Mm-hmm.
You can even throw in the 4th and 5th red zone trip, but the 6th trip as well when they picked up 5 yards, 3 plays. So that would have been 12 plays inside the 10-yard line, a total of 10 yards in their last 3 trips to the red zone. That's the sour taste in your mouth, the interception that Mahomes threw. It looked like Kelce was open on the next trip where Mahomes throws the ball. It's tipped in the air, and you're like, did he throw another interception in the end zone? It fell incomplete. But Kelce was open. If I think it was Wagner that got his hand up and got the ball knocked down. And then at the end, it was just run the ball. You're up by 13. It doesn't matter. Just run the ball. 3 runs. You'd like to see more success than 3 runs inside the 10-yard line and only pick up 5 yards total with the Chiefs' offensive line, with the running game that we've touted the last couple of weeks. I know the Rams defense was out there. It wasn't the JV defense. It was JV offense. And they, get paid. But you would have liked to seen a few more yards picked up when it was, we're going to run the ball. They know we're going to run the ball. And we're going to score a touchdown, because Pacheco's not just going through the motions. Right. He's trying to, hurt somebody when he's running the football. Then they're trying to hurt him because he got it pretty hard a couple of times and then bounces right back up and runs like, here we go, let's play football.
One of the only players in the NFL who holds the turbo button down between plays as well.
That's exactly right. And everyone's like, hey, calm down there, guy. Just always bouncing around like he's, just wearing springs on his feet no matter what.
I don't know if you heard what Matt Derrick unveiled on the postgame show last night. He said the only thing he's waiting to hear from Isaiah Pacheco is the phrase, football is life. And I love the idea of Isaiah Pacheco as the Chiefs' Danny Rojas. It was an inspired call from Matt Derrick. I want to make this a thing.
Football is life. He plays like it.
He does.
Definitely plays like it. That's the sour taste left in the mouth. Because the defense goes out there and gives up 10 points. They give up the touchdown drive, but they give up 10 points. It was Bryce Perkins. Fine, whatever. They get pressure on him. They get 3 sacks. They get 5 tackles for loss. They get a couple of interceptions. They did what they were supposed to do in a game where you've got the third-string quarterback and no Cooper Kupp. You give up 10 points, you give up 10 points in a game. They were up, 17? When they got that touchdown drive, did the Rams, to make it a 10-point game. So are you playing a little lax? Are you playing a little, easier, a little softer? I'm not sure in that one, but they win. I'm almost more ready to talk Bengals than I am to break down the Chiefs and the Rams game. It's odd, already turning the page and saying, all right, Bengals coming up this weekend. And exacting a little revenge. I didn't even realize the schedule quirk for Cincinnati, that they got back-to-back games in the middle of the season or at the end of the season in which they played back-to-back in the playoffs. Tennessee and Kansas City back-to-back games in which they did divisional round and AFC championship to go to the Super Bowl. They took care of one. They did what they did. They went to Tennessee and won. Now they get a home game. Unlike playing at Arrowhead last year, they get a home game coming up on Sunday. So we'll see. 913-912-4810 is the text line to be a part of the show. 913-912-4810, the text line to join us. Sky Moore. When he came off the field, have you seen Good Will Hunting, sir?
I have not.
Okay.
I have not.
Okay. Well, there is.
Heard it's great.
Yeah, it's a really good movie. Fine movie. One of my favorites. There's a scene at the end with Sean and Will Hunting. Sean played the role of Robin Williams, playing the role of Sean, his therapist. And they're talking about, what Will went through in his life. And Sean just looks at him and says, "It's not your fault." And Will goes, "I know. No, it's not your fault." Yeah, I know. Will, it's not your fault. I know, man. I know. It's not your fault. Don't bleep with me, man. It's not your fault, Will. It's not. Sean, it's not your fault. And that's what I picture coming off the sideline. Sky Moore with anybody but Dave Tobe. Just looking at him and going, Sky, it's not your fault, man. Yeah, it is. No, it's not your fault, Sky. I know. It's not your fault, Sky. It's his fault over there. It's Dave Tobe's fault. It's your fatherly figure in the special teams coach that took somebody that didn't return punts in high school or college and talked about the fact that he never returned punts, but we're going to give it the old college try, and we're going to turn him into a punt returner because his arms are really good and his hands are really big and he catches everything and he's a little shifty and everything, so we're going to make Sky Moore a punt returner. And it was swimming upstream most of the season, and yet they put him back there again, and he muffs the first opportunity. And I'm not mad at Sky Moore. I am not upset or frustrated with Sky Moore. I would be annoyed with Sky Moore's play if he was dropping passes.
Yes.
If he wasn't getting open, if he was running the wrong route, if Mahomes couldn't trust him, if Mahomes throws a ball and then looks at him and does the arms in the air like, hey, and then gestures one way or another like you're supposed to go this way or that way. If he didn't then come right back and catch a difficult pass from Mahomes, reaching up, snatches it out of the air. If he wasn't doing those things, I'd be annoyed with Sky Moore. I am not upset with Sky Moore. I am upset with Dave Tobe and whoever else continues to say Sky Moore should be the punt returner. Justin Watson goes back there, fair catches the ball, catches it, gets the Bronx cheer, and even starts pumping the crowd up. Yeah, I caught the damn ball. You're right, Chiefs fans. Bring it. I mean, it seems so obvious, but so frustrating at the same time.
Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Fool me 3 times, shame on Dave Tobe. Fool me 4 times. I think we have to make a pledge as a show to this exact point. This just dawned on me, and I really think it's going to be a good one. Beards, you don't get a choice in the matter because, in fact, I think you are going to be Sky Moore here.
Oh, wow.
If it happens again...
I'm not going to punt anything to Beards.
I just want to start a show with just you and Beards in different chairs. You guys just switch spots. Maybe it's a segment later on in the hour, so it's just a few minutes.
Yeah.
Just you guys switch jobs just for a few minutes. Let's see how the show goes. Because I don't think, to your point, that putting Beards in your chair, putting you in Beards' chair, is going to be good for anyone other than maybe me, because all I have to do is sit here and cackle. And then maybe eventually try to figure out which button to push to make sure the radio is actually going out over the airwaves. Matt Derrick made this point last night on postgame. You could include Brett Veach on that a little bit, because he's under the impression that, hey, they drafted Sky Moore believing this was going to be a part of his duties on the team, at least as a rookie. But really, that has to be it, right? That had to be the right one. Or the last one. Sky Moore may be Dave Tobe's perfect punt returner in an ideal world, but the ideal world is not the one that we're living in. Yeah. And Sky Moore, I don't want him back there earning a reputation among Chiefs fans as the guy who can't be trusted, because 2 offensive plays into that next drive, he makes that catch where you go, that's the guy they drafted. Mm-hmm. That's what they drafted him to do. No one, from the KCSN guide to Dane Brugler, I don't think anybody said, you know why I like Sky Moore in the second round? It's going to be a real nice punt returner. I wasn't thinking about that. Nobody was, because he wasn't even doing it in college. It wasn't the old college try. They're doing the old professional games that matter try. I like Sky Moore. I think he's going to be a good player for this team for a long time. Don't make him be the punter either. He doesn't need to play any of these roles.
It is a good point. I don't know. Beards may be a phenomenal host.
We've tried.
I don't know. He may be a fantastic host, but I love the comparison here. Because Beards has been around radio a long time.
Long time.
He's worked with shows.
Yes.
He's even spoken on the air.
Plenty.
You know? He can produce shows. He runs shows. He's around it. He understands how it works.
As good a producer as you're going to find.
Sky Moore's played football his whole life. He's caught footballs. He's been around it. He's seen punts.
Second round draft pick.
That's right. But apparently he's not a punt returner.
He probably could. Who shouldn't switch jobs? Sky Moore and Beards, because Beards shouldn't return punts. And with Sky Moore,
let's not play that game. That won't be a good time for anybody involved.
Well, look, I do think Sky Moore would be better at your
Yeah.
job than you would be at his, because he wouldn't literally die over there, and I'm concerned about you maybe perishing. But that's where we're at, man.
Absolutely.
It's become mimetic. Chiefs fans see Sky Moore go back there and just
oh no,
I'm gonna go grab a snack and then I'll come back for whatever the defense does here. You can't have that.
The defense comes off the field when Sky Moore goes on the field. Defense keeps their helmets.
Yeah,
Stay on the sideline.
Just get on the sideline and go.
Stay on the sideline, ready to go.
There.
But yeah, it's I'm not mad at Sky Moore. It's at this point, there's nothing. I tweeted it out right after it was over. I'm like, there's nothing more that can be said that hasn't already been said. There's nothing more to talk about except for the fact that let's stop talking about Sky Moore being the issue. He's not the issue. It's coaching that puts players in position to succeed and fail.
Yeah.
And stop doing that. Stop putting them in a position to fail.
It is kind of weird just because, he does have great hands. He is good at tracking deep balls.
Right.
It's weird that he can't field a punt cleanly, but I don't need to understand it to know it shouldn't keep happening. I just don't want to see it anymore. Justin Watson's just fine back there.
I wonder.
The team's leading receiver, by the way, by snap count.
I wonder that, and this is a total, novice just looking at things and wondering, the difference between catching a punt and catching a football. Mm-hmm. I don't see Sky Moore catching the ball with his body very often.
Which is good.
Always catching it with his hands.
Big hands, going out to the point of the ball.
Punt return, you don't catch it with your hands.
Yep. You
catch it with your entire body. It comes into the breadbasket. It's your biceps, it's your forearm, it's your chest. It's all of that coming together at the same point to catch the football, where he's a guy that catches the ball with his hands all the time because his hands are the size of Shaq's, apparently.
Right.
So maybe that's the issue. Maybe it's just he's caught things with his hands his whole life. And Tyreek Hill's a great body catcher.
Yeah.
Tyreek Hill is a fantastic, catcher of the football that comes into his that hits the
bread
10,
basket
that
sort
hits
of
the 10.
Yeah.
And he can do that. I don't know that Sky Moore does that. The only time I've seen Sky Moore catch a ball that wasn't in his hands was when he was ad-libbing last week with Patrick Mahomes and came back for the ball and had to dive forward.
Yeah.
And it hit his arm and his shoulder pad and he caught it.
I think, and I kind of replaying that now that you've said it, I think for the most part, I think the muffs have been him kind of undershooting it, off his fingertips and going out in front of him, not bouncing. I don't think either any of them have bounced off his.
This one went like straight through the basket.
That one was 3 points. Down. That was 3 automatic points for the Rams.
Right. That's exactly right. Yes,
but it's not. But I don't think they've been like ricochets or anything. So yeah, that's sort of interesting. Whereas a guy like Tyreek Hill, you ever watch everyone's now seen. You've seen a professional soccer player before.
I have.
But I don't know if you've ever in person or ever realized how wild it is. How quickly soccer players can just dead a ball under their foot that should bounce for another 30 yards,
Yeah.
Because you just sort of understand what the ricochet is going to be and the bounce and the spin. You see a lot of punts. You probably get really familiar with that thwomp sort of motion and sound. Right. If Sky Moore wants to work on him in practice for the rest of time, that's okay. Maybe we try again next year. But the rest of this season, I'm good. It's December. Yes, the experiment
that's exactly right.
You cannot be experimenting on changes of possession in December. That's going to be my arbitrary cutoff right there.
Chiefs scored on both possessions that Justin Watson returned punts. They did not score on the possession that Sky Moore returned the punts. That's all you need to know. We'll take a timeout. We will get to your phone calls. The number of people on hold, 913-381-810. We'll come back, get right to the phones, get to the text line, 913-912-4810. Hear from Patrick Mahomes, Pacheco, Juju, Bolton, Andy Reid, all that still to come here on this Monday, Victory Monday for the Chiefs. Despite the feel, Victory Monday, 26-10, Chiefs beat the Rams. More Zone coming up next.
Want to see more of The Zone? Watch the show live on the Sports Radio 810 WHB Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch. The Zone with Jason Anderson.
Beards, what's your sleep paralysis demon look like? Mine looks like Jason.
What do you mean you haven't seen that movie?
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right, 913-381-810. Let's bring in Jay to the conversation, waiting patiently to join the show here, taking your phone calls. 26-10, Chiefs beat the Rams, victory Monday. We'll hear from Andy Reid later on this show, about 12:30 or so. Field Yates at noon, Mick Shaffer as well. Jay, go right ahead. Thank you for holding, sir. What's on your mind?
Hey, I've been a long-time Chiefs fan since the early 90s, and I mean, not to be objective, but I seen the offense didn't work and the defense did. I seen the 2000s when the offense worked and the defense did. And just to get a perspective, I love what the Chiefs are doing, but we got to remember, as Chiefs fans, it's been really, really worse times. And I think most fans are getting spoiled now. I mean, we used to think, as long as we get the win, we're fine. We got the win. But now it's not how we win, and that's not good enough. But I remember, hey, we was 2-14 one time.
Yeah.
We was 8-8. We missed the playoffs. We didn't have a defense. So all I'm saying is that I'm happy with what we're doing. I mean, because all teams go through roller coasters. All teams go through good times, and they go through their peaks and valleys. And right now, Chiefs are at the highest peak, and it's going to come a valley again. And I've been through the valley when most fans have been through the valley when we didn't have anything. So I'm not going to hold home on how they win. And, it was like, well, that was kind of a weird win, or it wasn't we didn't put 40 points up this time. Hey, look, I remember we couldn't score 6 points. We lost 6-10, or we lost 13-10. We lost 13-10. I take the win as a fan now, as we can get them. The goal is to get into the Super Bowl. I don't care how we get the win. We got the W. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to get off the phone and let somebody else speak, and I just want to hear your comments on that. Thank you very much.
Jay, I appreciate the phone call, man. It is absolutely – I mentioned it briefly when we were talking in the first segment that it is an element of being spoiled, of coming away from a game in which the Chiefs covered a 15.5-point spread, in which they played a game that you never really felt like was in doubt. And I can't help how I feel. I know I'm spoiled. I get it. Understandable. And there are probably fan bases across the country that are like, look at these Chiefs fans. Are you serious? Like, they win by 16, and it's like, I don't know. Was that really all that entertaining? Like, totally understand where it's at. And, Jay, I'm with you. Lived through those times where the offense scoring 10 points was like, oh, man, if they'd only got 13. How many the fact that the Chiefs had a chance in 95 to beat the Colts with the Bono interceptions and the missed field goals, that they still had a chance to even, tie the game late is crazy, showing you how dominant that defense was. So I understand it, been there, but it is compared to the Super Bowl, and we are in a spoiled time. We are in an element of being spoiled. So Tex says Chiefs won by the second most points in the NFL yesterday. How can people be upset with the win? I don't think it's upset with the win. What I'm saying is it was kind of like they won, and now it's on to Cincinnati. I think the bad taste in the mouth was the final 3 red zone trips, the final 3 goal-to-go situations for the Chiefs and their final 3 drives. That's where we come away and go, oh boy, that looked rough, and maybe the Chiefs have already checked out. And I would say maybe the Chiefs went vanilla, except for the handoff throwback to Mahomes, then try to find Kelsey, except for that little fun, play that was mixed in. I don't know. It's a hard game to describe because I don't want to be part of the, they didn't win by enough, this team. What the hell? What's going to happen in the Super Bowl? I know this. They'd better convert on, red zone trips and goal-to-go situations on Sunday. That's one of the takeaways from yesterday's game.
Yesterday, we all went to a 4-star restaurant. We got an okay menu, and the dessert was kind of underwhelming.
You know what? You're right.
We've been eating at this 4-star restaurant for the last 4 years,
right.
And sometimes you show up, and the chef has like dry ice and a flamethrower, and there's like you hear a sheep buying in the back, like that's gonna be fresh. We've been eating.
Well, that's not dry ice. Come out of here.
No, that is ready to go. There are lobsters in the tank right now, and we're about to eat them. We've been eating the best restaurant meals that the best chef in the world has been able to cook up since he took over as the head chef in 2018. I'm sticking with the metaphor. And last night was just an okay effort from the restaurant. Dessert, the last thing you remember was kind of vanilla. Maybe it was just a little vanilla ice cream. Like, yeah, it was all right. I've had ice cream before. Didn't think it was anything special. That's what it is. We ate a lot of, not just McDonald's. In Kansas City, we ate out of the McDonald's dumpsters for a little bit. We were trying to find like a cold French fry. You get a Jamal Charles in there, and you are praising Jesus above. I mean, that is the spiritual journey. So I think that it is good perspective to remember what the diet of Chiefs Kingdom has been over really the majority of the last 50 years.
Yes. Tex says, didn't want to put a lot of the best red zone plays on tape, saving it for the Bengals. I do think the last drive was just run the ball.
Yeah.
I mean, they handed it off 3 times. There wasn't anything special.
Yep.
But they dropped back to pass a number of times in those last 3 red zone trips. So there is something to improve on. I would say that's actually a good thing, if we want to, talk about it from that perspective. Chiefs win by 16. The game was never in doubt, yet they come away annoyed. Like, they themselves come away annoyed with how they played and not being able to score down inside the red zone, and all the players that talk Juju and Patrick Mahomes and Pacheco about what has to happen in the red zone and down goal-to-go situations, that they have to be better than that. They've got to convert. 72% going into this game, 1 of 6 coming out of the game, in the game specifically. That to me is a good thing. You win, you put up 26 points, and you're like, that wasn't good enough. And the Chiefs players saying,
yes,
wasn't good enough. Not Chiefs fans, but Chiefs players saying wasn't good enough, because Sunday in Cincinnati, you're going to have a team that, is going to, again, compare themselves, litmus test, Chiefs versus Bengals. We saw it twice last year, and we saw the Bengals win both times. So the Chiefs coming out of that Rams game going, yeah, we'd better be focused, because that wasn't good enough down inside the red zone.
I think it's also worth noting the vibe from postgame. Mahomes, very self-critical. Mm-hmm. The offensive players, pretty self-critical. Andy Reid, pretty positive about the whole thing, which is pretty consistent for him. Of he is not going to watch his team win a game and then go out there and bleep on them. Even in games they played worse than they did yesterday, especially because we talk about the negatives in the red zone. And now all of a sudden we've forgotten to talk about a defense that had a really good day. Andy Reid is good at trying to shine the light on what they do well, and it's all a balance. It's all everything. And he typically takes the blame for unsuccessful trips or offensive struggles. Right. Even the report coming out of half was, the trips to the red zone. Noah Gray touchdown taken off the board. They get a field goal. Then, right before half, they don't score. It was 3rd and 1. MVS drops the football right through his hands. And coming out for the second half, the report was Andy Reid saying that he's got to do better. He's got to call better plays. He's got to put them in a better position to score down inside the red zone. It's something that they have to focus on, and they need to execute better. And he was not happy about what happened there in the second quarter. Okay, well, that was coming out of halftime. Yep.
After the game, hey, look, this was not a terrible team. All right, this wasn't a JV team. Played against a team that, maybe they're depleted, but you got to go out there and still play and win the game. And the Chiefs won by 16 points. Never really in doubt. Let's bring in Matt to the conversation. 913-3810810. Matt, go right ahead. What is on your mind, sir?
Well, I went to the game yesterday, and I was just thinking about it. Like, the play calling was quite a bit different from normal. Like they actively made a point to try to run the ball more. Now, it would have been more successful. That would have been great. But I feel like the Rams were almost spotting us a Titans win, and we took that win.
It's an interesting way to put it. Yeah.
I mean, you're going to have a great defensive performance. You're going to want to run the ball more, and you just take it and go. And secondly, there's one other point. I've been having near heart attacks watching these guys play every week. To me, it wasn't bad at all to just be able to sit there and okay, this is like that high school game where you've blown somebody out. Starters go sit on the bench and you just have a great time talking about what happened.
Yeah.
And the younger guys get to play almost. It's it was never really that far out of it. It was pretty close, for a win that was never in doubt. But I think that's what makes it weird, is that it was a relatively close game for something that wasn't an utter blowout. That's all I had to say, though. I had a couple takes on it.
Yeah, Matt, I appreciate the phone call, man. 913-3810810. It is kind of like that feel that they taking care of business, and I think the anxiety, the nerves when those are there, you have a lot more fun watching the game. When they're not there, there was like at no point this last week were there nerves or anxiousness or what's going to happen in the game. It was a matter of, do they cover? What's the total? Does Mahomes get to 300 yards for the 6th straight game? Does he get to 2 or more touchdowns for the 6th straight game or 7th, whatever it is for him? Does he continue as MVP? What does Kelsey do? What's the defense do? That was kind of it. It was like, what are the numbers that are put up? You know, Juju in fantasy football, what's he going to be? You know, in his return. That was really it. And you watch the game, and there's no real anxiety, and you know as it's going along, they're going to win. Once that Kelsey play happened and they're up 7-0, like, all right, here you go. Because the Rams aren't scoring, and now the Chiefs have showed that they're going to be able to score a 39-yard touchdown on 2nd and 16. And Mahomes, by the way, had all day to throw on that one. All day to throw on that particular play. So, and the whole time, like, honestly, I'm watching it, and I'm thinking about next week. You know, about, okay, the Bengals next week. The Bengals got the win against the Titans. What's it going to look like? If they take care of business against Cincinnati. The Titans lost that one, obviously. The Ravens, you know, lost to the Jags. And now you're looking at Miami and Buffalo with 3 losses, and they play each other. So one of them, no matter what, will have 4 losses this year. One of them will have at least 4 losses. Probably prefer that to be the Bills because they've got the tiebreaker over the Chiefs if the Chiefs were to drop one along the way. But that's also assuming, like, if Miami beats Buffalo, then Miami would not lose another game along the way as well. So that was kind of the feel of just get the win and then get ready for Cincinnati and not really nerves. It's odd, man. It's odd. Tex says, come on, Chiefs were just practicing yesterday, ramping up the running game for the rest of the season. The Rams were willing to give the Chiefs a Titans win is an interesting way of putting it. Because the Chiefs also went out there, the top 3 skill position players in terms of snap count, Justin Watson, Travis Kelce, and Noah Gray. I mean, that order. They had Juju available, MVS, Sky Moore. I know that McColl's on the IR, and I know that the
Tony was
hamstring
inactive,
is still bothering Tony.
Sure.
But they still had, Juju and MVS and Sky Moore, and yet it was 2 tight end set, 3 tight end set, a lot of that game. They did not open it up much at all. It kind of felt like the Chiefs even went into this game and said, let's win, let's move on. Get a win and go.
Somebody made the point on Twitter that it actually kind of feels like sometimes those trick plays in the red zone, the real tricky ones, not just the underhand toss to a tight end, basically running the ball, but the Colin Saunders on the field, which was then the Rams called a timeout, so we didn't see that play, but we saw him in the formation, and then the double pass with Sky. The theory was that Andy Reid will go to that more freely in a game that they're really in control of. And also now the Bengals are going to have to go, oh, God, do we need to have a plan for if they bring 99 on the field in the red zone?
True.
Because it'll happen again. It will happen again at some point, and now they've kind of put that in the mind of some defenses. So I think it was workmanlike, I think is fair, and I think it's going to be one of those games that next year at some point you're going to say, well, remember the Chiefs-Rams game last year? And I'm going to go, no, I really don't. Oh, with Bryce Perkins. Yeah, I remember
Bryce
that
Denny's?
game.
Was it Bryce Denny's?
It was Bryce Denny's. Yeah, that's exactly right.
Grand Slam? Is that what? Did they get the Grand Slam?
They got
What
the
was
Grand
it?
Slam at Perkins. I think that's how that works. And
Was it Bryce, Tiger Woods?
And that's right. And I think there were pancakes, if not waffles. I don't know the offensive line was pancaking a lot of guys. The game never waffled. Your breakfast foods. It's the breakfast food game now. I think that's probably how we'll remember it. Maybe not even next year. Maybe next week you'll say, remember last week against the Rams? I was like, no, Jason, I really don't.
I do not remember that. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back, get back into your phone calls. 913-381-810. Text coming in as well. Also, do want to play a couple of clips from Mahomes and Andy Reid. We'll do that coming up next.
Follow the show on Twitter at J810Anderson, at JB Brisco, at Beards McFly, and at Sports Radio 810. The Zone with Jason Anderson.
I'm going to take the $20 and put it on Jalen Daniels. No.
I'll give you a quarter for it.
A whole quarter. I'll give Audrey a quarter, too.
Sounds like a movie reference.
I can't. I'm just so disappointed in that it sounds like a movie reference.
I'm disappointed that you still have the capacity of being disappointed in me. My parents gave up much
No, there's
sooner.
a lot of capacity for disappointment.
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right, we'll continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you, Josh Brisco, Beards. We head up until 2 o'clock. We've got you for the next 3 hours, 7 minutes or so. Field Yates coming up at noon. 913-3810810 is the phone number to join us. We'll take your phone calls until noon. Let's hear from Patrick Mahomes weighing in on his game takeaways and the interception that happened down in the red zone.
Yeah, I mean, I thought defense played well. Obviously, some special teams, some offense we got to clean up. The defense kept us in the game, got some turnovers for us, got some big stops after some turnovers that we made. But especially in the red zone, we got to execute at a higher level. I got to execute at a higher level, and I got to stop. I got to take out like the one dumb play I make every game, it seems like. So if I can take that out, I think we'll be all right.
I'm guessing you mean the pass in the end zone? Was there a no-look?
No, it wasn't a no-look. I was going to throw it to Trav, and then at the last second, I didn't think I could get it in. It was one of those, like, I tried to pull it down a little bit, and I threw it directly into the dude's stomach. So just got to make sure that I don't do that, especially in the red zone, because those are ones that kill you in big games. And so obviously you'd like to win, but we got a lot to get better at offensively, especially starting with me.
Are 4 of his interceptions this year in games that were already decided, where he's kind of just like free-willing, just free-flowing? I don't know what free-willing is. Free-willy,
it's
probably.
when you go swimming with no cares in the world.
That's right. It's free. It's when you swim with Willie.
That's right. You find an orca. And
only the free Willy, not the one that costs money or is actually in captivity.
No, free Willies only.
Free willing.
Hashtag free the Willy.
Yes, free flowing. Just doing some of those things. Like I got a little too aggressive there. Got a little too cocky there. It looked like a no-look pass. Mm-hmm. It looked like he was trying to no-look, but his explanation of, I was going to throw it to Kelsey, last minute, didn't think it would be able to get there, and then tried to throw it lower and threw it right into the guy's gut. It happens. Just, in bigger games, has it happened this year? I have to go back and look. I mean, obviously, the Bills game at the end was not one to where it was like, just being careless with the ball.
Right. It was trying to make something happen.
He got beat on the defensive call.
Similar flavor to what we talked about last segment. I would just beg Chiefs fans to not feel the need to suddenly start shouting about how someone needs to coach that kind of thing out of Patrick Mahomes.
No, let him do it.
One out of every 10 doesn't go the Chiefs' way. I can live with that because 9 out of 10 times he's a wizard playing football. But he's right. Those turnovers in big games, if they happen in big moments, very costly. To your point, doesn't happen all that often.
Just don't happen this weekend. Take care of business. Sick and tired of Bengals fans. Already.
It's Monday at 11 o'clock.
Yeah, already don't care about them. Or done caring about them.
For those who believe some of the best.
The Zone with Jason Anderson.
I've got control of all these knobs over here.
Wow.
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. We'll talk with Field Yates coming up an hour from now. Andy Reid, Mick Shaffer, all still to come here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. 913-3810810 is the phone number. Let's bring in Dave to the conversation, waiting to join the show. Dave, what's on your mind? Go right ahead, sir.
Well, it's been more than just this game, but I'm ready to fire the special teams coach. I think he has not done a good job for a couple years. He makes the wrong decisions of when to run it out and when not to run it out. He puts the wrong people back there, and I want to call for his firing. Get a petition going.
Dave, I appreciate the phone call. I mean, I don't think the petition is going to matter with Andy Reid. You can get the petition going. That may work. I will say I'm long past hearing that Dave Toub is the best special teams coach in the NFL. I do think he generally does a pretty good job in coverage. And I think when it comes to special teams, we focus a lot on the return game, in punt return and kick return. And there have been mistakes that Pacheco has made as a rookie this year in returning kicks. And we obviously know the issues that are going on with Sky Moore as to why you put him back there. Again, it just makes no freaking sense whatsoever. But I do think generally the Chiefs have been good in coverage. Tommy Townsend's one of the best punters in the NFL, and Harrison Butker made all of his kicks yesterday. There wasn't one that slid inside one of the uprights, so it was consistent and, right down the middle. So, I mean, there are issues with the Chiefs' special teams that they have made this year. There is no debating that. I don't know that Dave Toub should be fired, but I am well past this guy's the best special teams coach in the NFL, and it's not close, and he's a special teams guru. I think there are some areas that he excels in, and I think finding guys that can cover punts and cover kicks and things like that, I think he excels in. The return game, I don't know. Maybe he does, and maybe he doesn't compared to other NFL teams that, I'm not watching every single punt and kick return from 31 other teams like I am with the Chiefs.
One thing that I frankly think we did a pretty good job of in the wee hours of the late preseason, we spent a lot of time talking about roster spots, 50 to like 58, kind of those battles for those last three spots at the bottom of the roster. Matt Jarrett made this point last night as well. He'll make it again with us on Friday. I'm sure we should let him spread his wisdom on this one. But
let Matt cook.
We'll let Matt cook on Friday. But in the meantime, we knew that this was going to be a younger, far less experienced special teams group, and I did something unthinkable on postgame last night.
What?
I positively invoked the name of Daniel Sorensen. Now, please, you got to hear me out.
Why?
I do not think he should be on this roster. I am glad the Chiefs moved on from him when they did. Frankly, I wish it would have been a year earlier. But in real time, watching Trent McDuffie get passed on the fake punt, I thought he has not seen a lot of special team snaps in his career. Very early in an injured rookie season, I do not believe that he played at least very many snaps at special teams in college, although I don't have the full numbers on that or anything. But Dan Sorensen in those types of roles sees something in the formation or from the punter or from the up man or from the gunner. He had an absolute knack for having what felt like 50 years of special teams performance at the NFL level, and he sniffed stuff out like that out. Now, could that be coached up better? Could McDuffie be ready for that? Should the entire unit be performing better? I still think that's all absolutely fair. But you shouldn't be surprised by this looking like a young, inexperienced unit making some poor decisions or not seeing some things, because this unit was the special teams unit starring Dan Sorensen, Ben Neiman, Marcus Kemp, and a bunch of guys who either aren't on the roster or, in Kemp's case, practice squad now.
The McDuffie one, it makes 2 out of 3 where the Chiefs lose a possession by a fake in special teams. The onside kick to start the Jags game, and then the fake punt that gave the ball back to the Rams at that one. Not even going with the fumbled punt. Not even going with the muff punt. Just the fact that you lose those. He said the week after the Jags that well, I take responsibility for the onside kick because I've got to talk to them before they go out there. I've got to do it every single time. And they kicked it to a spot where there were 3 rookies in that area. It was Brian Cook, it was Cochran, and I don't remember who the other person was that was right there. But there were 3 rookies in that area. And so they were kind of looking at the ball, as he said, but they were already turning and running, and they didn't stay long enough to look at the ball. And he's like, I got to tell them every single time. And one of the takeaways I had in hearing Dave Toub say that was, I know it's the coaching aspect, but I don't think this late in the season, the guys that have been on kick return this long in those same spots and as many kick returns as they faced, that you should have to tell them every single time, do not leave and start running back until the ball is kicked. I think at some point they're professional football players. Now, the McDuffie one to where, all right, you're just not out there that often. You're, a cornerback on the punt return, and so you're thinking about setting up and getting back and blocking or whatever that might be, and you're not ready for the guy to be sprinting down and then just stop all of a sudden and turn around and have the ball there and it's a completion. That's tough to do, so maybe more reps, more experience, things like that. The onside kick, though, should Dave Toub tell them every single time they go out there, hey, guys, remember, look at the ball before you move? That is elementary stuff. That is me telling my son and the 6- and 7-year-old baseball players that, hey, get in front of the ball. Now you got to get in front of the ball, and then you got to get your knees bent right. Your triangle, okay? You're waiting for the ball. Get that hand over
Use
the top.
Use your top hands to trap it in. Uh-huh.
That's right. That second hand, you need that to. But get in front of the ball. Hey, why did you backhand that? You went over to the backhand and you stopped and waited for it to get there. Another step, and you're waiting for it. Get in front of the ball. Like, I've got to tell the 7-year-olds that. I shouldn't have to tell professional football players, hey, before the ball is kicked, make sure you're watching it before it fully is kicked, okay? So don't turn and run. So there is an element of do your job.
Sure.
I'm not mad at Sky Moore because he shouldn't be out there. He's not good enough. But there is an element of do your job. Right? You're a paid professional football player. Go catch the ball. That's all you got to do is catch the ball. That's your job. Catch the ball. So while the coaching matters, and Dave Toub, I think, finds guys that can go and cover and play. There are obviously some issues this year with special teams, and there is nobody that is going to be making an excuse for Dave Toub, or at least for how the special teams have played this year. It won't be me that will be doing that, because for a couple of years I've talked about that I'm done discussing Dave Toub as the best special teams coach in the NFL. Maybe he is, but I'd like to see the 31 other coaches that fall short of what the standard that Dave Toub has had. So there are some issues. There are growing pains that go along with it, but there's also your professional football players to go and do your job. He took credit or he took blame for the onside kick, but I mean, if he needs to tell him every single time, then you got to find somebody else. And maybe that's where his fault comes in, is then find somebody else that won't run every single time unless they're reminded.
And I guess I would offer a little optimism in it potentially getting better, because so here are guys who played double-digit special team snaps just yesterday for the Chiefs. Most recent data point, obviously no Kadarius Toney, some other injuries and everything, but double-digit snaps. So these are 3 or 4 phase guys because there's a little bit of variance.
Yeah.
Joshua Williams, rookie. Jody Fortson, full special teamer. Noah Gray, full special teamer. Deion Bush, veteran but first year with the Chiefs. Chris Lamons, Dave Toub's favorite.
Yeah.
And then rookie Leo Chanel played all 18 of whatever, it would have been 20.
Chanel was the other one on that. Cook, Cochran, and Chanel were on the onside kick.
Chanel, Cochran both played a ton of special team snaps yesterday, obviously both rookies. Zane Anderson, year 2, was not a starter on special teams last year. Harrison Butker, obviously. And then Michael Burton, who's been out there a lot. You're talking about basically half of your core special teams group is either rookies or at least guys who are new to this team. Again, Deion Bush, I haven't seen make any mistakes, and so I'm not even lumping him in with the young guys. But it's a lot of turnover for that unit, which was a price they were, I think, willing to pay happily to get younger and faster on defense. I'm good with that trade-off. It needs to be better over the course of the season. It's December now, or now the next game will be taking place in the month of December. Vice has got to clamp down a little bit there, but I do think there are multiple reasons to kind of explain why this has been happening.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm with you, and that's where the coaching comes in that if the guy's not going to get done, then find somebody else who will.
Right, sure.
So if every single time on a kickoff return, you have to go to your frontline guys and say, remember, watch the ball and make sure it's kick deep before you turn and run. Because how often are they returning kicks anyway? So for you to be sprinting back and trying to get in position for a kick return when it's happening 1 out of every 5 times, like, I feel like then what becomes your main job is to make sure an onside kick does not happen, especially against when you're playing for the Chiefs and there are teams that look at it and say, we may have to do whatever it takes to win this game. Mm-hmm. So if that means a surprise onside kick, whatever it is, it happens once out of every, 82 times, but that one time is going to burn you, but it's where it's got to be just engraved in your mind of, I don't leave until the ball is kicked, whatever it might be. Sky Moore being back out there is indefensible. There is no excuse for Sky Moore being back out there to return punts. You've seen enough. So find somebody else, especially when you've already said, the one thing I know for sure with Justin Watson is that he will catch the ball.
Let him.
Done.
Prove it. I don't believe you.
Found my punt returner.
Right.
Because the only way the Chiefs will not score with Patrick, or the one way you can guarantee the Chiefs will not score when the defense gets a stop, is if Patrick Mahomes doesn't get the ball because there's a turnover, because there's a fumbled, muffed punt, or whatever it might be. So, yeah, Dave Tobe, there are some issues there with the special teams. And like you said, the next game is going to be in December. It's about time to stop talking about these are rookies that are out there and, they get all these growing pains and everything. But the special teams part of it shouldn't be as many growing pains when defensively, that's where you expect some of those growing pains to happen because you've got 4 rookies in the secondary when they're guarding NFL wide receivers and different coverages and when to blitz and, man-to-man and then switching into zone or what side of the field do I have. All of those things they've got to remember, and still got to go out there and play the game. That's more of the growing pains that you would expect, not necessarily on the special teams. 913-381-0810 is the phone number. Storyteller, next up on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Storyteller, go right ahead. What's on your mind?
Gentlemen, always a pleasure. I have 2 questions and a comment. My first question is, do you think Daniel Snyder had anything to do with that Jerry Jones picture? Because he said that he was going to do something like that.
I mean, I don't.
Hadn't thought about it.
I had not thought about that
but
either.
I kind of love it.
That is interesting that that comes out after Jerry Jones sort of no longer defending Dan Snyder and is no longer in Dan Snyder's corner. I don't know. That is an interesting point.
The second question is, 3 months ago there was a lot of talk about the Mahomes baby making his grand entrance into the world and a cartwheel, then he's finishing with the splits. That's what one might be thinking. So how is Patrick going to handle this? Because he's handled the pregnancy quite well.
You talk about his second child? I didn't.
Yeah, it got kind of muffled in there for a second, Storyteller. I think we might have missed the gist of that one.
Yeah, how's Patrick going to handle it when his baby shows up?
Don't hand it to Sky Moore. Sorry, don't punt it to Sky Moore.
Yeah, handing and throwing to Sky Moore has been just fine.
Just generally rule of thumb, no, but don't punt. I mean, don't punt babies. I mean, that goes without saying, right?
Right. The man, he punted Baxter. The man punted Baxter. I think he'll be fine. I mean,
he's very comfortable with a lot of hungry mouths to feed. I think 8 guys had multiple catches yesterday.
Exactly right.
Boom.
He can spread the wealth around.
That's exactly right.
All right.
Spread the attention.
You know what? Let's hear from Patrick Mahomes, and he weighs in on the comfort he has with all of his children and also pass catchers.
Yeah, I think I've gotten you get more and more comfortable as the season goes on. You get more and more reps. And so there's even spots where tight ends will come in. There may be a play call to Travis that I'll throw to Jody or throw to Noah because we have built that confidence in them that they're going to get open as well. And so we kind of rotate the receivers in and out. I think it makes us a better team. And so those guys all have confidence that when they get in, they're going to make a play, and I'm going to give them chances too.
How many different receivers yesterday?
8 receivers had multiple catches.
8.
So that's not including Isaiah Pacheco and Ronald Jones, and I might have caught a pass and forgotten about it.
Did Noah Gray only have 1? Or
He had 2.
He had 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not counting the touchdown that should have been.
Woulda, shoulda. Should have had 3 in the game.
I think that clip is fascinating, specifically in the mention of how, hey, sometimes Noah Gray or Jody Fortson come in and run a play that was maybe designed for Travis Kelce. When we talk about like all the pass catchers having to learn the other positions, not, cross receiver and tight end, but like receivers learning all the receiver positions in the offense and all that. That's the end result. That's the goal, is to say Noah Gray can come in and run a play that we drew up for Travis Kelce, and we know that he's going to earn the trust to do that. That is the sticker on the box of trade Tyreek Hill and improve the rest of the receiving core. That's what they sell you on. I mean, that's good stuff right there.
Let's hear from Andy Reid, speaking of the wide receivers and snap counts and who played and 8 different players that had multiple receptions. Here's Andy Reid, was asked about the Juju Smith-Schuster snap count being a little bit lower than what it has been in the past until that injury.
Yeah, we were trying to rotate all the guys in as we went, and Juju was part of that. So we weren't sure early in the week where he was going to be at. So the other guys had some numbers called there.
That to me is interesting because as the game went along, the first half, Juju was hardly ever out there. I mean, he was not out there very often. And let me tell you, as somebody who has him on his fantasy team and also included him in a single game parlay.
Nobody cares.
Oh, it's been so long since I've gotten to hear that sound.
I was noticing how often Juju was not in the game and how it was Watson and Sky Moore and MVS or 3 tight end sets with Fortson, Gray, and Kelce out there on the field. So he didn't play very often. He did, most of, if not all of his damage in the second half. He ends up playing only 29 snaps, 38% of the snaps. Justin Watson played 84% of the snap, 64 total in the game.
6th amongst pass catchers, receivers, and tight ends.
Yeah, and so I was wondering about that. Like, okay, did they see something from Watson last week, and are they slowly bringing Juju Smith-Schuster back from the concussion? But it made perfect sense that early in the week, they didn't know if they were going to have Juju Smith-Schuster. So you install the game plan. You have the guys that you're going to be out there to go up against the Rams. And then late in the week, Juju is cleared. Okay, yeah, he's going to play. But we've got a lot of 3 tight end. We've got Justin Watson in here. We got Sky Moore playing over there. We got these plays set up for MVS. We've got the game plan in there. Now, as the game goes along, we've got 1,000 other plays that Juju's going to get out there and he's going to play. But is he going to be a main focal point of the game plan like he had been the few weeks leading into that concussion? No, because they didn't even know if they were going to have him. I thought that was an interesting point to sort of explain a little bit of the snap counts of Justin Watson, the 3 tight ends, Sky Moore, MVS, and then how few snaps that Juju Smith-Schuster got when he's your number 1 receiver and was fully cleared to play, yet played just over 1/3 of the snaps in the game. So, makes sense. Didn't even know if they were going to have him early in the week. Install the game plan, ready to go, and guess what? They believe Justin Watson, Sky Moore, MVS, whoever it is going to get the job done when he's out there. And Juju, when you get a chance to get in there, go do your thing. And in the meantime, here's the game plan that's going to be a lot of what did Fortson play? 22% of the snaps?
Yep,
so
17
a
snaps.
5th of the plays, essentially, you could say were 3 tight end sets. I mean, he was probably out there when Gray or Kelce wasn't out there once.
But it was a lot of snaps for the heavy personnel.
There
Absolutely.
was a lot of snaps where you had, as Herbie would say, 13 personnel in there. So with Pacheco and those tight ends. So yeah, I mean, I think next week in Cincinnati, I think it'll be back to Juju Smith-Schuster playing 85% of the snaps. The question moving forward that I would have is there a changing of Watson and MVS? Because MVS has been a starter, been a guy that's been in there for all the reps, right, getting all the snaps. Juju's in there, all the snaps. Sky Moore has taken a back seat. Justin Watson had to take a back seat. It had been McColl and Juju and MVS. Tony gets in there, some injuries, all of that stuff. Then in this game, MVS is healthy, has been healthy. Yet the main guy is Justin Watson. MVS had the drop pass deep and had the 3rd and 1 drop that was right in his hands. It came in hot, but catch the ball. That's what you're paid to do. So my point about Sky Moore and returning punts, I'd be more frustrated if Sky Moore was having some of the plays that MVS is having. Against the Chargers, I think it was, that MVS had 4 targets, 1 catch last week? And that 1 catch was the final drive, where it was the first play of that final drive where he had the 17-yard catch. But he was 0 for 3 in targets to receptions in the game until that point. And then what was he in this one? What were the targets and receptions for?
Well, I was wondering.
MVS was.
I think he's only credited with 1 target that wasn't caught, but I also have him with basically 2 drops.
Yeah.
So was the one down the sideline called back for a penalty or something? I'm trying to remember. Was there another penalty that was accepted? Maybe it was holding. He got held. That's what it was. He got held. Yeah, so the only target that he's credited for not catching is the no seam laser that Mahomes threw.
Yeah.
Didn't get the seams on it and threw that thing like a cannonball. But then the one down the sideline, I also thought, hey, would have been a great catch. But that's one that you want. You just want your guy to make.
Right. Go catch the ball.
Yeah.
And so I do wonder if there starts to be Justin Watson maybe playing a little bit more of those routes. Maybe not Sky Moore, because he's not going to be the guy that takes the top off the defense, but Justin Watson's a guy who's fast. I mean, Patrick Mahomes talked about how fast Justin Watson is. And, hey, who's this guy there, Andy? Brett, where'd he come from? So, maybe that's the case, because Patrick Mahomes has a QBR or a quarterback rating 20 points lower throwing to MVS than he does on the season.
Interesting.
That becomes an issue. That becomes an issue to where he's 6 or 5 receptions the last 2 weeks on 9 targets, which isn't terrible.
No.
Well, no, it would be 5 receptions. 5 receptions, 9 targets the last 2 weeks. Another one in which he had a drop pass, but he was held as well. And that made it tougher. The holding made it tougher because it's a touchdown.
Still possible.
If he doesn't grab the jersey and tug on him, then I think Mahomes drops it in the breadbasket and it's a touchdown.
I think you're right.
And he also made a really good catch on one that where he got hit right as he was making the catch and he held on, and that was good. But he's been underwhelming after the first few weeks of the season. And Justin Watson seems to be a guy that just simply catches the ball when it's thrown his way, and that's a good thing to me.
Yes,
I'm crazy like that.
I think MVS is probably going to have some streakiness, kind of up and down throughout however long he's here.
Yeah.
I kind of think that Juju will take some of those snaps back from Watson, and that'll be more of the transaction. I wonder if Sky is going to lose work to Tony when he comes back. It was interesting watching Moore be the one that was running some of those little satellite motions around the backfield.
Yeah.
Because it was McCole Hardman. It was Tyreek Hill. He's not here. I don't know if you know that. Then it was McCole Hardman. He's on IR. I don't know if you know that. And it was Kadarius Toney. He's got a hamstring. I don't know if anyone's mentioned that recently. Now Sky Moore's the one running those. The Chiefs will have motion in their offense, period, no matter what. But seeing how those roles evolve as they get healthy again, I think it's going to be fascinating.
Something to note as well when you're looking at reps and percentage of reps that are out there. Marquez Valdez-Scantling this year, the last 3 games, Titans he played 71%, Jacksonville he played 84%, Chargers he played 71% with all the different injuries. This last week, McColl's still out, Tony's still out, Juju only playing a third of the snaps, he played 58%. So 71, 84, 71, and down to 58 when there were still injuries happening.
It's interesting.
We'll see if that's a trend.
Yep.
Or not against the Bengals. If he's playing less, if they're going to move up and Justin Watson and play a little bit more and Juju return to his role and Sky Moore do a little bit more, if he's somebody that, they feel like they can trust a little bit more, that because if Mahomes trusts you, he's going to want you to play. And if he's lacking that trust, he's going to want somebody else that he trusts in there, plus make the catch. I mean, 3rd and 1, make the catch right before halftime. You got to do it.
Justin Watson's going to be wide receiver 1. Tony's going to keep seeing his role increase, and all of a sudden we're going to get Sky Moore back there returning punts again because other guys are in the offense too much.
Thank God. Let's bring in Ted to the conversation. 913-3810810. Ted, go right ahead. What's on your mind, sir?
Hey, I apologize because I haven't been able to listen to everything this morning.
Darn you, Ted!
We forgive you.
I know.
So upset with you.
All right, so just quickly on MVS, he doesn't look natural. He looks like a track guy playing football. He looks like Willie Gault or some of those guys. He just doesn't look natural catching the football. Sky Moore and Pacheco. I'm done with Dave Toub and how much influence he has on playing time and what he's doing, and how much influence he has over Andy on decisions like this. The special teams, there's a mess up every single week. And why I would say that of all the jobs on the Chiefs team, all the jobs, returning a punt is the least important for this team. Why are they burdening more with that and Pacheco with the responsibilities that they have on offense? That's more important.
Ted, I agree, and darn you for not listening, because we did talk about Sky Moore and Dave Toub and Pacheco and those things. So,
but it's building up with Toub, and I understand. My grandmother used to be able to do a lot of things that she doesn't do today. Just ask my grandpa, But Dave Toub is not the guy, or it's not, the message is not getting through and the decisions being made. He's not having a good year.
Hey, Ted, I appreciate the phone call, man. 913-381-0810. Look, we talked about it, and it's been an issue this year. Every single week it seems like there's a mistake, and a number of them are by the younger players, mistakes that are made, but there is no excuse for Sky Moore being put back out there for punt returns. Do your job if you're Sky Moore. You're a professional. Do that. When called upon, you're asked to go out there and catch the ball. Go catch the ball. It's what you do for a living. Go and do that. But eventually, the coaches have to put players in position to succeed, and putting Sky Moore back there is doing a disservice to him and the Chiefs team overall. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. We'll continue rolling more Zone next.
Take the show with you by listening live on 810WHB.com, in the 810 mobile app, or by subscribing to The Zone wherever you get your podcasts. The Zone with Jason Anderson.
And I'm going to be doing some deep lunges.
Yeah, it won't be distracting at all.
And back up. That's right.
Won't be distracting at all.
Make that booty pop.
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Nine 913-381-810. 913-912-4810 is the text line. My buddy texted me and said, hey, is Sky Moore going to keep returning punts?
We'll take your calls, 913-381-810. Should Sky Moore keep returning the punts?
Should he be doing it more or less? Should it be Sky less on punt returns and Sky more as a wide receiver?
Should he start returning punts in his free time for other teams? Your favorite college team? I don't know.
He should return punts for the other team.
That would probably actually be
awesome.
good. Yeah.
Bengals punt returner Sky Moore. He just changed jerseys, which is perfectly fine. Do what you got to do. 913-381-810 is the phone number. Let's bring in Scott to the conversation, waiting to join the show. Scott, go right ahead. What's on your mind, sir?
Hey, fellas. I think you guys should refer to Dave Tobe on your show from now on as Ted's grandmother. Because I think that is an absolutely awesome way to describe him. I mean, he's definitely lost his fastball. And I know two of Moore's muffs were non-fair catches. I can't remember the other one, if it was a fair catch or not. I will say, like, the play against the Jags on the opening kickoff, like, who cares? We don't need the frontline guys flying out of there to make blocks because we don't need to return the ball. And yesterday on the fake punt, make sure he doesn't throw to the gunner. Like, that's your number one job. If we were just fair catching the football or letting the ball go out of the end zone and giving the ball to Mahomes on the 25 on kickoffs, and wherever we fair catch the football on punts, Patrick Mahomes has the ball. But because Dave Tobe still for some reason thinks it's 2005 and we need punt return yardage because Tyler Thigpen is our quarterback, it just makes absolutely no sense. And to be honest with you, I'm so, and have been for like the last 4 years, irritated with Tobe. And as much as you love Andy Reid, like, at some point, Andy has to step in and say, no, we have the greatest quarterback in the league, maybe in the history of the league. We don't need punt return yardage. We don't need hidden yardage. We just need the ball. And, like, at what point does that get to – I mean, can we fly a banner around the stadium to let Clark know? Because special teams mistakes are going to kill this team in the playoffs. I'm a Mizzou fan, so I'm always looking for worst case scenario. But it's gonna happen. Like, and we were able to overcome a bad special teams mistake against Buffalo a couple years ago, and against Houston, in the Super Bowl year. But I'm worried about it, and isn't that great? I feel like a KU basketball fan. I'm complaining about things that happened in a 16-point win, but still, it's anyway. Appreciate the phone call, guys.
Scott, I appreciate the phone call, man. 913-381-810 is the phone number. Dave Tobe, now referred to as Ted's grandmother.
Made it to the show sheet, wrote down the phrase Ted's grandma. Going to be really confused about that in an hour.
Yep. How Dave Tobe is Ted's grandmother.
Just ask Ted's grandpa.
The special teams coordinator, Ted's grandmother, needs to get it together. And also, like, to that point that we've had a lot in terms of the special teams with Patrick Mahomes and the Hippocratic oath that we had earlier this year with the special teams and punt returns at first do no harm.
Yeah.
The Chiefs, Justin Watson fair catches the ball, his first punt return at the 10-yard line. Chiefs go and score a touchdown. They went 90 yards to score a touchdown. They didn't need to catch the ball and pick up 5 or 6 or 7 more yards. They went 90 yards. Then the Rams punted the ball out of bounds at the 4-yard line. And the Chiefs went down the field and got to the 13-yard line of the Rams when eventually 3rd and 1 was dropped by MVS, but they're also only 19 seconds on the clock at that point, and then they kicked the field goal. If they had more time, is 3rd and 1. I mean, it was 3rd and 1, 22 seconds left. They didn't have any more timeouts. Do they run the ball there, pick up the first down, 1st and goal from the 12, 11, the 10, whatever. Then you got goal to go situations. I guess it wouldn't be first and goal from the 12, but first and 10 from the 12, first and goal from inside the 10, whatever it might be. Is that different? I don't know. But either way, they were on their way to going 96 yards to go and score a touchdown. Instead, they got 10 points out of those 2 drives. A fair catch and then letting the ball bounce that went out at the 4-yard line. They went a total of 186 yards, scoring 10 points in those 2. You don't need the extra 5 or 6 or 7. Just get under the ball, fair catch it, move on. And the fair catching, not fair catching, I don't think Sky Moore fair caught that punt. I think that's what he was saying, is that there haven't been, how many of those have been fair catches. Mm-hmm. I thought the one he muffed in Indianapolis, was that one where he tried to fair catch it?
It is so broken that we're like, which one of the punt returners muffs was this one or that one? I can't recall. I'll find the film. I'll be the one that puts their eyes on that.
Because there were 2 that were shaky against Indianapolis. One where he tried to get there and then got away.
Yeah.
And then another one where he tried to get there, touched it, and then it was the Colts' ball. That was at the beginning of the game, so that wouldn't be that hard to find. I thought he fair caught that one. I thought there was one where he fair caught but just didn't judge it. Doesn't matter. It's not good enough. We're not going to see him back there anymore. I am willing to,
until next week.
I am willing to go on record and say that Justin Watson is now the punt returner when there is no McCole Hardman and Kadarius Toney.
The Niners one was a fair catch, by the way.
Was it?
And probably shouldn't have been, just based on the blocking he had, which is sort of a double whammy in this whole conversation.
It's also part of judging the ball, judging the height, how far it is, and that's also part of being a punt returner.
Right.
Is knowing, okay, the ball's in the air this long, or I am this far away and it's this deep on the ball, I can return this. Or I need to call a fair catch. It's up there. Those are things where you just have the instinct or you've got the experience to be able to do that. 913-3810810. Let's go to CD next up on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Go right ahead. What's on your mind?
Yeah, this is CD.
What's up, man?
We do need every inch we can get on the football field. If it's a kickoff, a punt kickoff, it's a game of inches. So if we can get a few more inches, like on a kickoff, if we can get back to 25, that's a bonus. That's less pressure on the quarterback. This is the NFL. You need every inch you can get. And as far as MVS, catching the ball and Mahomes' ratios being lower on MVS, it's because his patterns take him down the field, and our offensive line doesn't always give our quarterback time to hit him. Better offensive line, better yards for MVS. MVS is going to get his. He's a good receiver. The quarterback just needs the time to hit him. That's it. Thank you.
CD, appreciate the phone call, man. 913-3810810. I think the 1980s and 90s and some other teams currently for the Chiefs, it's a game of inches. For Patrick Mahomes in the offense, the extra 5 yards don't matter as much as the possession.
Right.
Again, I just said Justin Watson fair caught the ball at the 10-yard line. They went 90 yards and scored a touchdown. If he didn't fair catch and he picked up 5 or 6 yards, is it worth the risk of dropping it? No, it's not, because they went 90 yards and scored a touchdown. The ball bounced out of bounds at the 4-yard line the next time because he didn't want to get over there and risk catching it when, there were other guys around and just get away. It's too much traffic, get away. Well, what if he'd have caught it at the 8-yard line? You'd have saved 4 yards. Well, yeah, but what if you drop it at the 8-yard line for those 4 yards? The Chiefs' offense does not need the extra 2, 3, 4 yards compared to some other offenses at the risk of then giving the ball away. And also, if you want to talk about kickoff returns being game of inches, then never return it. Never return the kick if it's a game of inches. Because how often do the Chiefs return the kick and get to at least the 25? Very, very rare. So don't return the kick. Fair catch every punt. And let the offense be the game of inches. Let the offense dictate how many yards they got to go on a possession as opposed to the defense running right back out there, grabbing their helmets and having to go play.
And you obviously you want all the yards you can get whenever they're accessible, but that's sort of the weird thing about this specific issue with the Chiefs right now is that it's become a very binary problem when this is not how most of the NFL works in terms of like, all right, we either get a return or we give them the ball back. It's not an onside kick. It's a punt return. Mm-hmm. This happens in every game, many times a game. So the Chiefs just need competence. That's really all. That's 1 degree away from, just rush 11 straight at the punter, and it's 1 degree or maybe multiple degrees away from put Sky Moore back there and say bleep it. They just need competence because you don't want to make your living making your offense go 95 yards every time. You certainly don't want to be so far back that it changes the play calls you're comfortable making. I don't know where the cutoff would that be. It might be the 4 or 5 yard line. But just some simple NFL average special teams, I would take that in a heartbeat if you said the Chiefs are going to have the 15th special teams in football. I think their DVOA is around that. I find that shocking because of the number of turnovers. But just give us competence, and the offense will figure it out.
And when the Chiefs started that drive, first and 10 from their own 4, he did hit MVS for 21 yards.
Yeah.
So there's that. The longer routes and taking a little bit more time to throw in the ball and all of that stuff. Yeah, his route tree is different than some of the other receivers that are there, but it doesn't change the play against the Chargers in which he was in the wrong spot when Mahomes threw the ball and then immediately started asking him to be in a different spot. It doesn't change when Mahomes is scrambling and MVS is running to the sideline and Mahomes throws it expecting MVS to turn up and MVS just stops running. Yeah. Those things are not, well, the offensive line should have done this or the offensive line should have done that or his route is, no, that's just being on the same page, and it doesn't change the 3rd and 1. Mahomes going to you. Kelsey was also open, but he chose the more open guy is going to be MVS, throw the ball, and he doesn't catch it. He's got to catch those every single time. That's got to be 10 out of 10. That's got to be 100 out of 100 for an NFL wide receiver to catch those things. And so my question is, do the snaps start to go towards Justin Watson, or do the Chiefs look at it and go, no, we're perfectly fine with MVS and what he's done so far this year, and he's going to continue playing his role because there's a reason he's on this team, and there's a benefit, and this is what he brings to the table, and Mahomes wants him out there. Because Mahomes went back to him after the drop pass on 3rd and 1. He did go to him again. So it wasn't like that was the last time Mahomes looked his way. But Justin Watson playing a lot in this game, I think is something to keep an eye on.
I think it's really interesting. I would put my money on MVS's role stabilizing higher than it was against the in the game yesterday.
Rams.
Against the Rams. Sorry.
See,
I was sorry. I already forgot that game happened. I was looking at the numbers here because what I wanted to mention is that MVS's 3-year deal is essentially 3 consecutive 1-year deals.
Yeah.
The Chiefs have outs at every level of it. If that relationship does fall apart, this is no guarantee that he's going to be a long-term answer, but I really think they'd like him to be one.
Yes.
So I think he'll have every opportunity to do that.
And I don't think the relationship falls apart because it seems like the relationship off the field is pretty strong.
Yeah, absolutely.
Between
True.
Patrick Mahomes and MVS.
Yep.
So 913-381-0810. Let's bring in Jay before we take a timeout. Jay, go right ahead. What's on your mind, sir?
Hey, guys. How's it going?
It's going just fine, man. Hope you're doing well.
Good. I pretty much share the same sentiment about punt return for Sky Moore being back there. I mean, when I saw it, I didn't actually, I didn't really even get mad. I just kind of
Me too.
Was like, all right, you know what?
The same reaction.
Whatever.
Like, oh, what are you going to do? Getting mad, it seems like that's already passed.
Right. I mean, I still think there's some value with us having a punt returner if there's an opportunity that's there, because it's better going 55 yards for a touchdown than it is maybe 70 or 80 yards. And I know we're capable of doing that because we have Mahomes and the receivers. My question comes in, that these guys are in the red zone a number of times, and they can't punch the ball in running. They keep running these fruity flip-flop plays to get in, and it's obviously opposing defenses know you can't run the ball in. And I'm not sure why. I mean, you can't just line up and just have Pacheco go in, or maybe even Ronald Jones since he's starting, or McKinnon go in. I don't understand why they do all of these plays right in the end zone. And so I don't know how they address that.
Yeah, Jay, I appreciate the phone call, man. 913-381-0810. Two good points. I want to get into those on the other side of the break. Weigh in on the value on the punt return. Yes, it is extreme to have no punt returner or just fair catch it every time. And I know what CD was talking about in a game of inches, and you need every inch you can get. 50-yard drive is much easier than a 75, 80-yard drive because less plays, less chances for penalties, things like that. When it's there and you have an opportunity that it's the punter is well outkicked his coverage. Yeah, I'm with you. But catch the ball is so freaking important, man.
Do the easiest, the most basic, the first thing. It's just the first thing in the list of things to do.
If catching the ball was not an issue, then yeah, return the punts. But if catching the ball becomes an issue, then just simply fair catch it. Let Patrick Mahomes, number 15, in that offense get out there. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. I want to talk about the goal-to-go situations, the running game, and lack thereof in terms of success down inside the 10-yard line yesterday. More Zone next.
You're in the zone with Jason Anderson on Sports Radio 810 WHB. The Zone with Jason Anderson.
So check your bags. Make sure you've declared your sausage. That's my lesson of the week.
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you, Josh Brisco, Beards. You know, before we talk with Field Yates, let's talk about what was brought up there at the end of the hour by Jay in the Pacheco runs and just running the ball down inside the goal line, down in goal-to-go situations where other teams are like, yeah, we don't think you're going to run the ball, so we expect there to be these different passes. The first trip to the red zone, the first trip inside the 10-yard line, I should say. So the red zone trip where they got a field goal, that first one they had goal-to-go situation, and Noah Gray scored a touchdown. It was called back because of the illegal man downfield, and then they threw the ball the next 3 times, and it was 0 for 3, kick a field goal. The next one didn't run the ball either because it was the end of half. So their first 2 trips to the red zone in which they got 6 points out of, and first 2 goal-to-go situations, they did not run the ball at all. They did score a touchdown, got called back, penalty, further away from, the 3-4 yard line, whatever it was. The next time down inside goal-to-go situation was first and goal at 3, Pacheco touchdown. So handoff right up the middle, moved the defense, he scores, everything looks good, right? Because at that point, your first trip was a touchdown that got called back. Your second trip was the end of half. You got a field goal out of it, and you started at your own 4-yard line. It's the next 3 that we're really talking about. Pacheco picks up no yards when they got first and goal down inside the 10. Incomplete pass on the trick play. And then the interception, looking for Kelsey. Then they have first and goal at the 9. And it's, all right, because they got the ball right back. First and goal at the 9. Okay, you went trick play, you went pass. Let's hand it off. 9-yard line, first and goal, picked up 4. Pacheco did. Second and goal from the 5, picked up 1. It's third and goal from the 4. I don't think anybody wants them to run it at that point. If they hand it off and they pick up 2-3 yards, well, what are you doing? You got Patrick Mahomes. Well, they did have Patrick Mahomes, and it was incomplete. It was when he rolled to the right. I think he did have Kelsey. I think it would have been a touchdown to Kelsey. Bobby Wagner sticks his arm up and pops the ball in the air. Nervousness that it was going to be intercepted again. It was not. And then the last one, it was first and goal at the 8, and it was 3 handoffs. 3 yards, 1 yard, 1 yard, and the Rams knew they weren't passing the ball. So I think there is some context to add, but even when a defense says, we know you're going to run the ball, and that offensive line says, yeah, we're going to run the ball, you'd like them to pick up more than 5 yards on 3 attempts.
Yep.
Because the offensive line should be better than that. Even though the Rams are a good defense and Aaron Donald's on that defense and all that stuff. It's 5 total yards that they picked up and then kicked a field goal. Yeah, there are certainly some areas of improvement with that, no doubt.
Receding hair.
The Zone with Jason Anderson.
Jason loves talking. I don't know about you, but Jason is a fan of Jason's show.
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you. Josh Brisco, Beards, heading up until 2 o'clock. We'll hear from Andy Reid later on this hour, Mick Shaffer as well. Let's talk some NFL football with our NFL insider from ESPN. It is Field Yates joining us here in the Zone on this Monday. Field, what's up, man? How are you, sir?
Jason, I'm doing well. How about you, my friend?
I am doing just fine, trying to kind of, verbalize and put into one sort of, box of what that game was for the Chiefs yesterday, in which
I'll tell you what it was.
15.5-point favorites. They win the game and they cover. Yet it was kind of like underwhelming. What did you think it was?
Nah. This is what this was, Jason. This was at the end of the college football regular season. For those that are hardcore SEC fans, I know that you're in Big 12 country. But the SEC has this weird week, it's like week 12 of the college football season, where all or at least a good chunk of their top teams don't play an SEC game. And instead, it's like Alabama goes from Ole Miss 1 week with the Iron Bowl 2 weeks later, and Louisiana Lafayette in between.
Yeah, yep.
And it's just a reality. I'm sorry to say it, but the Rams, with no Matthew Stafford and no Cooper Kupp and even no Allen Robinson and some notable players on defense banged up, a bad offensive line, it's just understandable that the Chiefs' emotions yesterday were not going to be at the same level they'd be if it was Josh Allen or even the Rams with those guys healthy. It just wasn't going to be that kind of atmosphere. I'm not trying to excuse everything that took place on the field yesterday because there were some uncharacteristic plays, even from someone like Patrick Mahomes. But it's a long season, and I think that what's most important here is that even on a day in which you're nowhere near at your best, you can still win by multiple scores, albeit against a bad team. But yesterday was a lull, and if nothing else, the Chiefs should be able to more than make up for it as far as energy is concerned this upcoming Sunday, because they might have the biggest game of their regular season being played in Cincinnati.
Absolutely, yeah. And to your point, Missouri went from Tennessee to New Mexico State to Arkansas.
So you're picking up what I'm putting down.
Absolutely.
I forgot that Missouri is now in the SEC.
That's right.
All these conference changes, and soon enough it's going to be like 2 conferences. There won't be any conferences. It'll just be like the Alabama Invitational, you know?
It'll be like the NFL. There's going to be an AFC and an NFC. And then there'll be divisions.
The Alabama Football Conference and the not Alabama Football Conference.
Yes. Yeah,
Alabama,
totally
the Alabama and the NA. The NA and the A is what you got. Field Yates is our guest from ESPN. And so, yes, look, there is an element, Field, of, we were talking about it to begin the show, that I'm like, well, there was no anxiety. There were no nerves going into the game, and maybe that's where it's sort of underwhelming. The Chiefs went 0 for 3, scoring a touchdown in their final 3 trips to the red zone, a couple of field goals and an interception, and it felt very underwhelming there. But boy, is there an element of, and I acknowledge it and acknowledged it then, of just sort of being spoiled with how good the Chiefs are, how good the offense is, what position they're in right now, being 9-2 in the number 1 seed, that, covering the spread against a Rams team, good, bad, or indifferent, is like, kind of okay. I don't know that I had a whole lot of fun watching the Chiefs play football. It's so spoiled.
Yeah. I know, really, that's how it is, right? I mean, you look around the NFL right now. Heck, look at the division. I mean, other teams, every other team in the division they play in right now would do cartwheels to have a 16-point comfortable win, right? I mean, the Raiders win in overtime in this crazy game. The Chargers win on a 2-point conversion late in a game in which they were trailing to a then 4-7 Cardinals team, and then the Broncos continue to be the biggest embarrassment in the NFL right now, as they are now down to 14.27 points per game on offense. Wow. So there's no two ways about it. This the Chiefs, whatever you want to call it, era or the times that we are living in right now is not one to be taken for granted. And 16-point wins at home are all of a sudden being dismissed as ho-hum. That right there is the definition of a high society problem.
Yeah, and it goes back to like I think in 2020 when the Chiefs were winning all these close games, and it was like, man, sometimes you just want a boring game where you go out, you score the points, and you get out of there, and it's no nerves or anything. Just go and win the game. It's not close late. Just go and get the job done. And then they do it. It's like, I don't know, that was kind of ho-hum. It wasn't really nerve-wracking, whatever it might be. But the one reason why it didn't feel like the game was ever in doubt, Field, and whether it's Bryce Perkins, no Cooper Kupp, and what's going on with the Rams offense, it didn't feel like the Rams would ever score enough to be able to be in the game and really give the Chiefs a test late. And Adam Tice, your colleague at ESPN that writes about the Chiefs and writes for ESPN, said that this is the best team that Andy Reid has had in Kansas City, and part of that is because of how good the defense is this year. Are you in agreement that the defense, what we're seeing from this Chiefs defense, whether that's Bryce Perkins or whoever else at quarterback, that's been a difference in how good this Chiefs team is, and being 9-2 and the number 1 seed and a pretty decent lead in the AFC West and the odds-on favorites to get the number 1 seed?
Ooh, that's a good question right there, and it's a good sort of hypothetical posed by Adam. Maybe I'm wrong here. It feels to me like the first year of the Patrick Mahomes experience was perhaps the most explosive and dynamic run that we've seen from the Chiefs. Maybe it's because it was new, right? And maybe that was the reason why we were talking about it in a specific vein at that time. But then they start like 11 and like 10-2 or 10-1 or something. It was some ridiculous finish.
And that was when
a little bit slow.
Yeah, and that was the year Mahomes had 5,000 yards and 50 touchdowns, and that was just the bursting onto the scene that, oh my gosh, this is different.
And then a couple of years ago, they had that start where they were 14-1, if I'm not mistaken. They lost to the Chargers in Week 17. That's when we still had only 17 games, but they won like every game close. Right? It was like they kept like not covering the spread. So you're like, all right, they keep winning. That's impressive. They're 14-1, but it doesn't feel like quite as dominant of an effort. It's a good question, though. And I think that the reality is that the Chiefs, evaluating the Chiefs rosters and sort of the team from top to bottom is going to end up being more of a results versus a process evaluation going forward. What I mean by that is that it's going to be easier for us to say this once the season is over, right? Because like they feel to me similar in terms of overall ability to other teams that have been a part of this is, I guess, year 5 of this great 5-year run. They kind of all, to me, feel like they were all very, 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 very good and capable of winning the Super Bowl. They've done it once, so it's easy to call that team the best in my estimation. I guess, but I also thought, I guess I just made the case for the team the year before that. You know what? My brain is now in a pretzel. I don't know. They're all really good. How's that for a thought?
Yes. I mean, the thing is, you win a Super Bowl in 2019, and the defense the second half of the season was a big reason why they did that and credited with doing that. And maybe it's because this defense has felt like it's been pretty good throughout most of the year and what the potential could be down the road, and then being able to put pressure on the quarterback actually this year as opposed to years past. But I will say this, as the Chiefs get ready for the Bengals coming up on Sunday, and we'll talk about that here in just a little bit, but just as a quick aside to what we're discussing, last year against Cincinnati in the playoffs, the Chiefs defense at different times just looked slow and a step behind a new and fast offense with Chase and Higgins and Boyd and Burrow putting the ball where it needs to go, and Joe Mixon and that offense and the juice they were playing with. The defense just felt like it was a little slow. And at no point this year, Field, have I felt like this defense is slow. They're young and athletic. They fly around the field. And I think that may make a difference in terms of what the eye test maybe is, anecdotally, that the defense feels like it's better because they're so much more athletic and fast, and they cover the field the way that they do. And it's coming off a defense where you felt like was just old.
Interesting. The thing I would say is that they do not look old to me. They do not look slow to me. I think the reality is, though, that the measuring stick for the Chiefs in probably every facet of the team is not going to be how they look against the competition that they have seen for the most part this season. I'm not taking away from the fact that they're 9-2, but there really aren't that many juggernauts. It's kind of a league this year where there are a handful of pretty good teams, a lot of teams that are just not very good this season because of disappointments like well, two of them in the Chiefs division, in the Broncos and also the Raiders. But I think we'll have a better grip on whether the Chiefs defense has made decided steps forward as we get a snapshot of them this Sunday against Cincinnati, and we expect Jamar Chase to at least be back on the field in some capacity, and then in the playoffs, because how do they look again against a team like maybe once again Cincinnati, maybe a team like Miami who can probably run with anybody right now offensively, and the Bills, who obviously when those two teams played, it ends up being a much more defensive battle than we anticipated. But those are going to be the measuring sticks for the Chiefs, much more so than what we've seen in recent weeks. Some solid offenses like Jacksonville, but not exactly like a gangbusters offense that over the past month or so the Chiefs have had to try to slow down.
There's 6 weeks left in the NFL season, Field. Barring an injury, is Mahomes the MVP?
I think so. And I guess there are a couple of ways in which it could not go in his favor. I think the most obvious one is if Philly goes 16-1 and Jalen Hurts keeps playing like he does, that's going to make for a very compelling case. That would be one way in which Patrick Mahomes would not win the MVP. And I suppose the only other would be if the Chiefs lose a few games down the stretch. I do not expect. I think they're going to be very much in the mix for that top seed in the AFC. And then the last thing that I would note is I don't think we're anywhere close to this point yet, but just putting it out there is, voter fatigue eventually sets in with these MVP votes. And this is a new system this year, which might actually work to Patrick's benefit, as I'm sure you're familiar with, but people out there listening who may not know this, is that in the NFL's MVP vote, which is voted on by 50 members from the Associated Press, in every year prior to this year, you made one pick for MVP, so there were a total of 50 votes casted. This year, starting this year, they're doing ranked choice voting. So when you make your MVP ballots, you're going to have 5 players listed, which means that Patrick will probably be on every single ballot. The question is how many of them will he be number one, and his points add up to win the trophy. Again, assuming no injury and assuming the Chiefs play how I expect them to play, I do believe he is the odds-on favorite, which is reflected in the sports books, as I saw this morning. He's still minus 230 as to win the MVP right now.
Yeah, he went from plus 900 to begin the season to the heavy favorite to win the MVP. Field Yates is our guest from ESPN. Before we talk about Cincinnati real quick, in the Bengals division, the Ravens end up losing to the Jags, and while that is an upset, and especially the way that it ended with the Ravens having a 9-point lead, they were only 3-point favorites in that game. So it wasn't like the Ravens went there as 9 or 10-point favorites and they ended up losing. It's a field goal game, essentially. Coming out of that game, do you take away more from the Ravens blowing a 9-point lead and the Jags scoring in the fourth quarter like they did, or is that game more about the Jags to you?
Probably more about the Jags, but I do think it's fair to note that the Ravens have not scored 30 points since week 3 of the NFL season. This is a team that you would think would be able to put up points in bunches, and I hear that people will make the counterpoint of, well, who do they have for Lamar Jackson to throw to? But when have they ever had a super dynamic passing offense? That has never been the strength. Has been the depth of their wide receiver room. And they just seem like they're in a funk right now. And they continued to win games prior to yesterday because they do have a good roster. They're extremely well coached. They're resilient. But I'll be curious what the rest of their regular season looks like. They play the Broncos this upcoming week, which you would expect to be a win. The Broncos obviously continue to be one of the embarrassments, as I said earlier on, of the league right now. But Baltimore's an interesting one because this is a team, and they're probably one of 3 or 4 in the AFC, the Chiefs and Bills certainly being 2 others. I think the Bengals probably in this category as well, where making the playoffs is no longer the standard. It's how do you do in the playoffs? And for the Ravens, what they're missing is a deep postseason run with Lamar Jackson as their quarterback. And if they don't win the Super Bowl this year, they're going to be Ravens fans who feel like it is a season that's gone by the wayside.
Visiting with Field Yates from ESPN. All right, let's talk about the Cincinnati Bengals this weekend. Chiefs were asked about it after the game against the Rams, and probably because, 16-point win, ho-hum, get out of there with a W, and then look ahead of the Bengals. But they were asked after the game about Cincinnati and about last year. What do you make of this matchup with Chiefs and Bengals Sunday afternoon?
Yeah, really, really, really good one. And we're going to latch on to, I think, deservedly so, the explosive playmakers on both sides of the ball offensively, or both teams offensively. But we were talking about the Chiefs' defense. Now they've kind of stepped up, even not against necessarily the toughest schedule that they'll see in their lifetime. Well, Cincinnati's in that same category, as they have been so resilient and so tough on defense as well. A lot of the faces are familiar to Chiefs fans because it's a lot of the faces that were there last year when these two teams played, but can't wait to watch it. One thing that is so apparent is that you'll be hard-pressed to find two teams more confident right now than the Chiefs and Cincinnati. Cincinnati believes it can be anybody, anytime, anywhere, and the Chiefs have proved it for the most part. They can beat anybody, anytime, anywhere. So it's too bad that we have so many good games this weekend. This actually feels like, I would argue, the best regular season slate of the entire season because you could just have this game on your TV for 3 straight hours and not change a channel and feel really good about watching that game start to finish.
Do you have maybe not even a score because we don't know about Jamar Chase this week if he's going to play or not, but do you have a guess and a prediction as to who wins on Sunday there in Cincinnati?
Yeah, I think the Chiefs do win. I think Jamar Chase does play. This feels like a bit of a grinded-out game, something like in the 24-20 type, as opposed to 35-31, which might have been what you'd expect last year when these two teams squared off.
All right, we'll see what happens. Field Yates from ESPN, NFL Insider. Field, you're the man. Really appreciate the time, as always, sir. Enjoy the football. We'll talk soon.
All right, sounds good, guys. Talk to you soon.
Absolutely. There's Field Yates from ESPN. Grinded out game more than anything against the Bengals. And the crazy thing about Cincinnati this year, and we talked about it last week in just looking at the records for the remaining teams, or at least the schedule, I should say, for the remaining teams and how tough those were for the candidates. The remaining schedule for the teams that are the candidates, that are the contenders in the AFC, if I'll eventually get that right one day. Tune in Wednesday when I get the wording right on that. That Cincinnati was really interesting because the teams that are ahead of them in the standings are the Chiefs, Dolphins, Titans, Ravens, Bills, and then that's it. They already played Miami this year, and they won. They played Tennessee last week. They play the Chiefs this week, and they end the season against Buffalo and Baltimore. So every single team, all 5 of the teams ahead of the Bengals, they play. Going into last week, they were going to play 4 of the 5 teams in front of them in the last 7 weeks of the season. They've already beaten Miami, and they've beaten Tennessee. The control your own destiny type thing, and if they win on Sunday, they need the Chiefs to lose one more and then the Dolphins to lose one more, because then the Dolphins would have 4 losses. But then they would control their own destiny. If they win on Sunday, they need one more loss from the Chiefs so they don't still control their own destiny. But there's still a chance for the Bengals to be the number 1 seed. If they take care of business, they could be the number 1 seed. And no doubt they're looking at that this weekend, or fans are, looking at that this weekend, because the schedule, 2 ways of looking at it, sets up to where, hey, you win those games, you're in prime position. Also, good luck winning all those games. Mm-hmm. They've already taken care of 2 of the 5. So they're 2-0 with 3 games remaining. And by the way, those 3 games are all at home. Chiefs, Bills, and Baltimore all at home the rest of the way. They got opportunities.
I just want to correct you on one thing. You said we're
Please.
not sure if Jamar Chase is going to play against the Chiefs this weekend. I'd like to just exclusively report myself that, of course, he's going to play against the Chiefs. I could have told you that the second he got hurt. I bet, you know what? Hey, Joe Mixon's also going to play. I don't know if he's going to play, but he's going to play.
I think Samaje Perine better than Joe Mixon, so
Whoa.
I'm really worried about Joe Mixon playing or not. If Joe Mixon plays, that's fine. I think they're a better offense when Samaje Perine's in there, quite frankly.
The Bengals have had good running backs, like a good running back duo my entire life, I think. This has always been a couple guys. Oh, Ben Jarvis, Green Ellis is on my fantasy team now. Cool.
That's right. Yeah. No, I mean, if Joe Mixon plays, I'm perfectly fine with that. I'm okay with him playing. I don't think he's all that good. But Jamar Chase makes a difference because T. Higgins has been really good with Jamar Chase, not outside of one game when T. Higgins did not have all that many receiving yards in that game, but he was awesome against Tennessee yesterday. And now they got the Chiefs at home. Then they play the Browns at home with Deshaun Watson. Then they go to Tampa, go to New England, home for Buffalo, home for Baltimore. they have a rough schedule the rest of the way. Because Tampa's going to be trying to make the playoffs in, what would that be, week 15. They're going to be in Tampa, where Tampa's got the playoffs that they're still trying to make. And maybe Tom Brady's last year. I kind of think this is the last year for Tom Brady. New England's going to be trying to make the playoffs when they go up there. That's always a tough place to play, or Christmas Eve.
Even if they're not in a good playoff spot, they'll just want to go out there and make you miserable for 3 hours.
Yes, right, in week 16. So you're coming down to, it's must-win time for some of these teams.
Yep.
And then Buffalo and Baltimore, those last 2 games at home, where Buffalo might be trying to get the number 2 seed or the number 1 seed, depending on. Chiefs lose one the rest of the way, and Baltimore's undefeated going into that game on January 2nd. The Chiefs drop one. Buffalo's looking at those last 2 weeks and saying we control our own destiny. We win, we get the number 1 seed. So they have opportunities, but man, is their schedule a murderer's row. They would have earned it, would have absolutely earned it if they're in that position. And they've already got the loss to Baltimore. So they can't lose to Baltimore at the end of the season and have the same record because Baltimore's already got the win against them earlier this season. So they've got to win against Baltimore just to even that up. But Baltimore also has a better divisional record right now than the Bengals do, since they're 3 of their 4 losses are in division, against Pittsburgh, against Baltimore, and against Cleveland.
It's just amazing, and this kind of, I guess, puts it back under. There's not the pressure on the Chiefs that there are against the Bengals this week. There is much more to be gained for Cincinnati, as you just laid out. But think about how crazy it is that the Chiefs might not officially, but more or less lock up the 1 seed with a month left in the season if they win this game on December 4th against the Bengals. At no point in the offseason, the preseason, in the first few weeks of the year, at no point did I think, oh yeah, not only will they be the 1 seed, they'll do it with plenty of cushion. It's in the year where rebuild was overstating it, reload might be fair, but certainly they were tinkering all offseason, and now look at where they're at. It's just ludicrous. It's completely ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, if Buffalo, so Buffalo's got New England on Thursday, right? That's the Thursday night game, is Buffalo in New England. And so certainly New England fans.
Say it with
around
me,
here.
Kansas City. Let's go Patriots.
Let's go
Sorry,
Pats.
I couldn't. Yeah, Pats. Ooh, Pat's easy. It's, hey, let's go Pat. We
Let's
say
go
all
Pat.
the time.
That's right.
Let's go Pat, parentheses, S this week. Okay, we're good.
Big weekend for all the Pats out there.
That's it. Okay, we got to figure it out.
So
Made it a little more palatable for everybody.
That's right.
Hashtag MV Pats.
And then Buffalo's got the Jets and Miami at home. Then they head to Chicago. Then they head to Cincinnati and then home for New England. Buffalo is going to have to earn it if they end up with 3 losses.
Yep.
Then you see Miami that also has 3 losses right now. And Miami right now has the same record in the AFC as the Chiefs do, roughly. Miami's heading to San Francisco this week. 49er fans. So the Chiefs are playing the Bengals at the same time the 49ers are playing the Dolphins. 49er fans. Then they head to L.A. to face off against the Chargers. Then they head to Buffalo to play the Bills. Then they return home against Green Bay. Then they head to New England. Then they play the Jets at home. If Miami ends up with 3 losses, they would absolutely have earned it.
Yes,
when the next 3 weeks they play in San Francisco, in L.A. against the Chargers, and in Buffalo. The Miami Dolphins do. And they've already beaten the Bills once this year at home. So Buffalo's going to be looking at that and saying, probably need to win that game if they're going to feel good about winning the division, because then they would be at least a game behind if you're looking at just winning out, or, same record right now. The Dolphins win that game, they'd be a game up plus the tiebreaker, so you'd be 2 games behind if you're the Bills. These teams around the Chiefs are all playing each other. So losses have to happen with a number of these teams, while the Chiefs, when they are done with the Bengals, win or lose, have the easiest path to the end of the season.
3 games against the 2 worst teams in the conference, being the Texans once and Broncos twice.
Yeah. Which, by the way,
is that an Eric Bieniemy laugh, Beer?
As that was the EB. As Field Yates points out,
that was my evil cackle at the Broncos.
We'll hear from Andy Reid on the other side. As Field Yates points out, this year, as opposed to all the years in the past of voting for MVP, everybody got 1 first place vote. And that's how you saw like unanimous first place winner. They got 50 votes or whatever. Now it's ranked choice. So you're going to go 1 through like 3 or 1 through 5.
I think it's 5.
Which is how the NBA does it.
Yeah, so 1 through 5, and then you just add it up after that. And what's beautiful is a couple of years ago when people talked about the absurdity that Russell Wilson has never received an MVP vote, that in the year that they moved to ranked choice voting, he still will not receive an MVP vote.
Want to see more of The Zone? Watch the show live on the Sports Radio 810 WHB Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch. The Zone with Jason Anderson.
Coach, you may be aware that you are top 5 in a poll of the most handsome coaches in the NFL.
That's what I'm talking about.
Do they underrate you?
I was wondering why I wasn't first.
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. This time tomorrow, the United States will be playing Iran in the win and advanced match in the World Cup. Portugal and Uruguay. Not Uruguay or Mayagüey. Uruguay versus Portugal coming up here in just a little bit. Andy Reid talking with the media. Definitely looking forward to the challenge of facing off against the Bengals. Andy Reid at the podium said he was happy with how his team battled through the week to get the win on Sunday.
I don't have any injuries to give you. The guys are coming in. I think we came out fairly healthy anyways. I thought, listen, I thought it ended up being a good game for us, a good win for us. Coming off a big game, big AFC West game and against the Chargers, and our guys powered through that in the week and Thanksgiving, the whole deal. So it was a good win to get. And then plus knowing that you've got the Bengals sitting right here up next. So our guys came in, they had good energy. I thought they fought all the way through the game. And I thought defensively we did a real nice job there. And I thought offensively, with the exception of some of the plays in the red zone, I thought it was a very productive game there. So, and then, we've kind of put Sky in and we're trying to bring him along with the punt return stuff. But, he had a hiccup again yesterday. So we'll take that responsibility as a coaching staff. And, I was proud of him for stepping up and ended up with 5 receptions. He had one right after that. And he's a competitive kid and he was crushed after the other one. But that's my responsibility. So I take that and we'll see where we go forward here with the punt return. But I was proud of him. So anyways, with that, a good win to get. And we're obviously deep into Cincinnati. We've been working on them since early this morning, and we'll get ready for them going forward here. So, anyways, with that, time's yours.
Hey, Coach. Good afternoon. Hope you had a good night's sleep at least.
Yeah.
Hey, specifically to Sky Moore, you said we'll see where we go from there, and I'm understanding that Kadarius Toney is still dealing with the hamstring with Cole Hardman on injured reserve. How much do you see Justin Watson as your short-term fix until you're able to get those guys back?
Yeah, Justin, again, he looked like he caught the ball fairly easy back there and comfortable. We'll see. I haven't met with Tobe on it yet, but we'll see where we go moving forward with it. But he seemed to be a pretty good catcher back there.
So, a couple of questions and comments about Sky Moore. He said twice, we'll see where we go moving forward with Sky Moore as the punt returner. He hasn't met with Dave Tobe yet about that. Justin Watson looked like he was comfortable catching the punt. I'm assuming we'll see where we go moving forward is we'll see where we go as to who the punt returner is going to be not named Sky Moore moving forward. Again, I mean, I don't know. I don't think there really is much of a question at this point. So, you have Justin Watson back there until you get McCole Hardman or Kadarius Toney or whoever else. That's your punt returner the rest of the way. Andy Reid saying that special teams haven't quite lived up to the expectations this year, but hopes that they will improve.
Yeah, so, we had the fake on us. This time is our second time we've had one, which is true. Obviously, but we anticipated that happening and worked on it. It just, they got us. Listen, Adam, I think one great learning place for the players, especially the young players, is to put them on special teams. And then you just continually progress and get better as the season goes on. There are going to be some early issues as we go here, and then you hope that it continues to pick up as we go forward. So that's where we're at right now.
Okay. And I wanted to get your thoughts on Ronald Jones from yesterday's game. I know he didn't play a lot, but when he was in there, what's your thought about how what he gave you?
Yeah, listen, I thought he ran hard. I think he had a lot of energy going, and everything was fast. It looked like to him, but he was productive. He had some good, strong runs. He caught the ball well when he had the opportunity to do that, and had a big gain there. So, yeah, no, I thought for the first time coming in, I thought he did well.
I like the combination of the three guys of Pacheco, McKinnon, and Ronald Jones. I like what they bring to the table. So.
It felt a little juicy. Juice dash Y. There was some juice in that backfield yesterday.
Juice dash Y.
Yeah.
Felt a little juice dash Y.
Felt a little juice dash Y.
Okay. Yeah. I liked it, and Ronald Jones even caught a pass.
He caught a pass.
Yards.
Pacheco caught a pass.
Right.
They let them run plays in a passing play with those guys on the field.
I thought for sure that when Ronald Jones came in, it's like you're going to have to run the ball here. Or you have a play in which Ronald Jones then goes out in a swing pass because you don't want to have a play where he needs to stay in and protect on a certain route, concept, whatever it might be. Andy Reid continuing along with the special teams and others involved in this team. Andy says he hopes Kadarius Toney returns sooner rather than later, but they won't push it because it's a hamstring.
So he's working hard at getting back, and we are being cautious with it. And we'll see how he does this week as we go forward with it. But we're going to try not to bring him back and then have any setbacks after that. We don't want to go through that. So we'll see. We'll just see how it goes. Probably Pete is I'd tell you day to day, and we'll just see where he's at.
Let's go next to Aaron Ladd. Go ahead, Aaron.
Coach, I remember Frank telling us in training camp that you all are both LA boys, and y'all sat down and had a conversation at the end of last year that basically culminated to, we think you're a better player than what you put on tape. What have you seen him come in and do this year, especially with a new mindset?
Yeah, I think he's been on a mission to play well, and I think that's what's taking place. I mean, he's relentless, and he's got a great attitude. So I think he's back to the Frank that we saw in that first year, and maybe even a little better. So, but he's playing very well, I think.
I'll say this: he's playing well compared to what we saw the last couple of years. He's not a hole. Out of 1 through 11, his position is not just a huge negative on the field where, you don't need stud players across the board, but you can't have guys that are just bad to where you have clear deficiencies at a position. And that's what Frank Clark has been the last couple of years. So the fact that he's playing average football at defensive end seems like a huge step up in play just in general of what kind of impact he's making, because it was not that the last couple of years. It was bad the last couple of years. So just being, okay, he's been fine. It's like, oh, hey, look at Frank Clark. He's been fine. That's great, man. Have you seen how awesome Frank Clark's been? He's been totally fine.
Fine this year.
He's been totally fine.
Kadarius Toney day to day. I'm not ready to have this conversation. Those words still mean things to me day to day.
Well, his hamstring was healthy for a couple of weeks. As he said, I'm healthy. You guys don't know what you're talking about. A couple of weeks later, the hamstring tightened up a little bit. He didn't actually hurt. It was just tight. It was very tight. Very tight hamstring. But because it's a hamstring, they want to be cautious. Don't want any setbacks when he returns from a hamstring that just got tight. I mean, we're seeing it's so far early on through 3-4 weeks, it's been the full gambit, it feels like. Gambit?
Yep.
Gambit,
Yeah, that'll be
right?
the spell.
Right?
You can spell that next week or on
gambit.
Thursday for.
What's a gambit?
You have the Queen's Gambit, and you can run the gamut.
It's a character in X-Men.
Thank you.
Maybe
that's also
it, yeah.
good.
No, it's definitely the gamut that I'm thinking of.
Yeah, you can run the gamut. I think you could run a gamut or a gambit though.
You could, but it's different in that the Queen. It's a gamut, but
the Queen's Gambit was actually on Hulu. It was a knockoff.
Queen's Gambit was really good on Netflix. Queen's Gambit on Hulu.
Paramount actually
sucked.
So Gambit,
Paramount Network, not even Paramount Plus,
is the right. It's really hard to find. Gambit is the complete range or scope of something.
That's what I was trying to.
The Gambit, other than being a character from X-Men. This describes it as a device.
Channing
Tatum actually Tatum?
Wow.
Look forward to hearing that one again in a few days. A device, action, or opening remark. Typically one entailing a degree of risk.
Oh, like in chess.
I think it was Channing Tatum that played him in the X-Men movie, or in the
cool.
Wolverine movie.
Well said, Beards.
Well, now we've run the entire gamut of all the different things that can be encompassed in this, but running the gamut of the high-level plays and difference-making ability on the field to, is he healthy this week? Is he going to be out there and play? Is it a hamstring? It's soft tissue injury? He just might be the next Sammy Watkins. That, he can make plays when he's out there, but it's so early. It's early, but it's been kind of the theme of his career so far has been the soft tissue injuries.
Don't say that.
I'm just living in reality. That's all.
I don't want to live in reality. I want to live in a reality where Kadarius Toney's never hurt.
Well, look, the gambit that he ran the first couple weeks was awesome. That opening move for him.
I think that's the same reality where Sky Moore is the ideal punt returner for Dave Tobin and it works out.
God, that might be true. Well, in that universe, they'd be really ready to throw down the gauntlet. What are gauntlets?
Gambits. Andy Reid continued and said that there are a few factors in why the special teams have hit some bumps in the road this year.
Yeah, I think Seren, I think we're playing a number of young guys. We're anticipating things to get better. We've gotten better in some areas, so we'll keep working through it. As far as the returner thing goes, I've been through that before. Again, I'm not going to put that on Sky. We've asked him to learn that and go in there and do it. And, we gave him a second chance to do it, and it didn't work out as well as we hoped, but we'll figure it out and we'll get it right. And Dave, he's as good as there is. So we'll get things straightened out there.
On the subject of Sky Moore, I mean, obviously you feel like you know him pretty well when you go through the whole draft process and now had a chance to coach him and everything. He bounced back. He seemed to really want to show the emotion. He had some good catches and everything. Do you know that that's how he bounced back? Is there a fear that, hey, if this gets out of hand, we could maybe lose this guy? He loses his confidence. Maybe it becomes a thing catching the ball. Did you have any fear on that front after you saw that punt go through his hands?
Well, listen, he was upset at himself, and so you never know. I mean, until you get the guy here, we'd heard that he was a competitive kid, but you don't know until you stick him in front of 70,000 people in the National Football League at the highest level, that how they're going to respond. And so, I was proud of him for stepping right up and going. I mean, like I said, he had some nice plays for us there.
It didn't seem like the emotions bothered him or affected him. It obviously bothered him in muffing the punt, but didn't affect him in which then that led to mistakes down the road later in the game, whereas he comes right back out the next possession in the second play, third play of that drive and makes the really good catch. He was open. Mahomes hit him. He had to reach up and grab it. Not an easy catch. He did that. Catches the other ones thrown his way outside of the one that was on a scramble and trying to ad-lib, in which he threw it back and it went off the arms of Sky Moore. But he's been just fine as a wide receiver. He's been good as a wide receiver. I like what I've seen from that. Just don't put him back there returning punts. Andy Reid went into detail about Travis Kelce's catch and run for a touchdown on Jalen Ramsey.
Yeah, the route was when he caught it, and ran it. The route, it was what was drawn up after the catch. Now he came back across the field, so that was all him.
Let's go next to Harold Kuntz. Go ahead, Harold.
Hey, Andy, hope you're doing well. Couple of questions for you. One, not just Sky, but all the rookies, because I mean, you're dealing with 10 of them from the jump. You know, as we get to the midpoint of the season here, how did you and the coaching staff dealt with those conversations just with them, just to keep their confidence going, knowing that it's getting into the nitty gritty now and where it counts in November, December? And I'll have a follow-up, Brad.
Yeah, so I've been real happy with their improvement on the offensive defensive side, special teams with, in most cases there. So I would just tell you that the things we've told them is just keep going, keep pushing forward. If there's a mistake in there, learn from it, and let's get back on and go, and let's not have it, shake your confidence in that area. So I think they've done a good job of that.
And also the follow-up I had for you, I know you mentioned the red zone offense, and I know part of that in the fourth quarter is just trying to run the ball and trying to make sure you just get time down. But is there anything else when you looked at the film that you identified that, okay, this isn't working in certain places that we needed to work on, and then this is also something we needed to improve on even more going forward?
Yeah, we needed to run it better and more accurate. And we had some issues there we've got to take care of, and whether it's the play or the call at that time or the actual blocking part of it. So we've got to tighten that up, because the defense that they were playing, they're giving you that opportunity to do that.
Interesting. Defenses they were playing down inside the goal-to-go situations, inside the red zone, were giving you the opportunity to run the ball, and they still weren't able to do that. So as he says, whether it was play call or blocking, need to execute better, need to run it better, and be more accurate. Not with passing the ball, be more accurate in running the ball. It's really, really interesting. I wonder if he's talking about, when he talks about the play calls, not necessarily, well, I should have had a better play call when it comes to the run, but the defenses they were showing were telling us there were opportunities to run it. But down inside the red zone, I believe the first two trips were all passing plays down inside the goal-to-go situation, not just red zone, but inside the 10-yard line. I believe it was 4, 5, 6, 7 passing plays in the first two trips to the red zone. Second trip was at the end of half. So, again, grain of salt with that one. But they were all passing plays. And then the next time out, it was the Pacheco for 1 yard, and then the trick play, and then the interception. So, again, passing plays that they went back to. I wonder if part of that is what Andy Reid's talking about. And then when they actually did run it, were they showing the looks of allowing you the opportunity to run it? Because late in the game, it was, we know you're going to hand off and run down the clock, and we're going to play to just simply stop the run. And it didn't matter that they were playing to stop the run because you were just trying to burn the clock anyway and just end the game. I don't know. That's Andy Reid and his coaching staff and the offensive linemen and Pacheco to figure out what the issues were down inside the 10-yard line and inability to run the ball. Outside of, when they scored a touchdown, it was 1st and goal at the 3. They handed off and scored a touchdown.
Accuracy makes me wonder about Pacheco's role in that. Is it reading a gap, or what are his options there? I have no idea. Haven't looked at the film since the game yesterday, and Pacheco's explosiveness more than makes up for some rookie misreads, if that is the case. But you could probably point to several moving parts within that running game and say, hey, plenty of room to tinker and hopefully have it firing on all cylinders by late December.
After racking up another double-digit win, Andy Reid said he is proud of the track record, but knows that the work is not done.
Yeah, listen, it's an honor, first of all, to have an opportunity to coach here, just like it is for you guys to write about the Chiefs. I mean, it's a great place to be, and it's a great time. So the main thing is when you're sitting in the seat I'm sitting in is you got to keep winning, right? So you don't sit back and rest on those things, Matt. I mean, you've been around me, and I'm kind of, okay, that's great. Let's go. Let's go on to the next one. And the next one ends up being the most important one. So that's where we're at. But I don't want to slight the fact that it's, a lot of you guys are from Kansas City and proud of it. And so it's great to have a winning program.
There you go, Andy Reid getting ready for the Bengals. We'll hear from Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, and others on Wednesday. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. More Zone next.
Follow the show on Twitter at J810Anderson, at JB Brisco, at Beards McFly, and at Sports Radio 810. The Zone with Jason Anderson.
You could have also gone.
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right, wrapping up this hour, we'll talk with Mick Shaffer, KSHB 41 Sports Director. Learn funniest best coming up in the 1 o'clock hour as well. Get some more into the Chiefs and Rams, and then looking ahead already looking ahead to the Bengals coming up on Sunday, a big one. Very, very big game where the Chiefs are going to get the number 1 seed. Sunday will go a long way in doing that. It's a huge, huge weekend in the NFL. A lot of movement, one way or another, can happen on Sunday. And Thursday night as well, with Bills and Patriots. Or Dolphins. Either way, I think it's Bills-Patriots on Thursday. A lot of movement going on in the NFL this weekend, including Chiefs and Bengals. We'll talk about Chiefs and Rams, looking ahead, maybe some college football as well with Mick Shaffer. Coming up next here in The Zone.
A winning.
This SportsCenter is brought to you by the University of St. Mary. The University of St. Mary is proud to offer KC's most flexible MBA. Choose your method, online, on ground, or a blend of both. For more details, join us virtually on December 7th. RSVP at stmary.edu/RSVP. The Chiefs worked their way to a 26-10 victory over the Los Angeles Rams yesterday, with LA quarterbacked by Bryce Perkins, as the Rams were without Matthew Stafford, Cooper Kupp, Allen Robinson, and much of their offensive line. The Chiefs, however, came out healthy, according to Andy Reid in his Monday press conference. Mizzou took down Arkansas on Friday, punching their ticket to a bowl game, and wide receiver Luther Burden announced Monday that he has no plans to transfer after the season, tweeting, "I'm not going anywhere, Tiger for life." K-State controlled the Sunflower Showdown. We'll talk about all that ball with Mick Shaffer of KSHB 41 next in the Zone. This is SportsCenter.
The Zone with Jason Anderson.
Hey, I'm Mick Shaffer. I was in the lake this weekend. I don't like fish. Hey, Mick.
So, not even like shrimp or anything?
No, I don't like shrimp and none of that.
Interesting. Like
I hate
scallops.
my family and fish.
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right, we'll continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Victory Monday for the Chiefs in K-State and Mizzou as well. And, of course, Mill Valley. Do you even celebrate anymore? Do you just simply shake hands and walk off the field and say, let's go get some Dairy Queen and let's go get some Andes. Let's top your day with some Andes. Like, what do you do when you win 8 straight?
I didn't even find time to make it into the game. We were outside just tailgating the whole time.
What's the point? Why even go and watch it? You know the result.
You know the result. It's like the Chiefs every year with the annual AFC Championship game, the Arrowhead Invitational, right?
That's exactly right. It might be the Arrowhead Invitational this year. At least it's heading that way. Assuming that 1, they get the 1, and 2, they take care of business in the divisional round. But yeah, certainly they're setting themselves up to have 5 straight AFC Championship games.
Mill Valley wins the Mill Valley Pittsburgh State Invitational each year, where
that's right.
The Chiefs are 500 in those in the last 4 years.
That's right. Yeah, closer game. You said it wouldn't be some crazy high flying game. It would not be a running clock in the fourth quarter.
Mill Valley was the exact same score as last year, 28-14. They just left the score on the scoreboard. We just matched it.
That's right.
We just matched it. So it took a generational quarterback to score on Mill Valley this year. So they finally gave up points in the playoffs. 14 to Avery Johnson and Mays.
A little more heartbreaking on the Missouri side for the Lee Summit North Broncos.
That's one
that one hurt.
Could have, should have had. I mean, they're right there to win in regulation.
Look, high school field goals are always. That feels like it's a half court shot. Yeah. Right, like no matter where it is on the field, it's like a half court shot, and they were inside the 10-yard line.
But here's the deal: they played at Columbia, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
College field goals are 5 feet narrower than high school field goals. High school field goals are 23 feet. College and NFL are 18. And Mill Valley, on their second possession, got down to the 5, stalled out, brought on the field goal unit, knocked one off the upright. I'm like,
that should count.
We would have made that at home.
Why does that not count? That should count.
Wow. And I think, and I don't know, I think some of the time, these college goalposts, they have like the screws on the bottom of the upright to move them out. And sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. I don't know if they did in Columbia. They did not in Pittsburgh. They apparently had some other game they had to be at that same time.
The second one wouldn't have mattered because it got blocked.
Yes.
Lee Summit North. After the first one was missed and the roughing the kicker.
But
so actually in college,
it's actually so that affects everything.
On a slant in college, most people don't know this, but actually the field points down to the 50-yard line.
That's why it was blocked.
And that's all a leverage
it's the opposite
game.
Of a crown.
Yeah.
It is crazy when you look at the crown from like the side and you get ground level to look and see that small crest in the middle of the field.
Do most turf fields have
I think it's regulation that they all have to have a crown.
There's not one in a lot of the high school fields.
Really?
Is it for NFL? You saying?
Maybe it's just NFL and college, but I don't know if it's high school.
I just always know it was built that to have water drain off it better, and I don't know if they still need that with these.
I thought it was regulation
fields.
that there was that small little crown that I don't know. Maybe it was just about the irrigation system. I'm not really sure what it was. I always thought it was fascinating though. Like, how do you do that? He's just that small.
I can't see that guy's legs across the field, the other sideline.
a rounded shape. So does it round and then go flat? I don't understand what's going on here. But no, it's that's probably why they missed the first one, and then the second was blocked, and then CBC gets the touchdown in overtime, and it is unfortunate, but still a phenomenal season by Lee Summit North. Phenomenal run by Lee Summit North.
Back-to-back years, getting and losing to what is an all-star team.
Yeah, losing to a team that recruits throughout the entire state
taking
of
the
Missouri.
kids from the 5 neighborhoods around their neighborhood.
And Illinois. Let's recruit from Missouri and Illinois to go to CBC and then take on the public school in Lee Summit North and everything they had to be able to beat them. I kind of feel like Lee Summit North won just based on those that context.
I'll take it.
Yeah, Lee Summit North will take it too. But yeah, so congratulations to Mill Valley. Bishop Miege won for the 35th year in a row, I think it was.
No, they hadn't won since 2019.
Really?
St. James had won the last 2 years.
Sorry, their 35th championship, maybe.
It's
overall.
I think they're well over 100 overall in all the sports. It's 11 in football, and so that broke the record. They were tied with Lawrence, and they were tied with Smith Center, home of Mitch Holtis. Sorry, Jason. Yeah. But they had 10. All three of them had 10, and Lawrence hasn't won one in a long time. Smith Center's kind of feel like their glory days might be kind of behind them. Not Miege, though. They got 11 now, and so they're the they got the most. Mill Valley's on their heels, though. They got 6 now.
They got 6
right in the last 8.
You got to start like an NIL collective or something. What's the next play for you? I feel like you're in a real position of power here. Mill Valley.
The amount of money the parents put into it. I have to remember checks I've written. Yeah, there should be enough for an NIL.
Can you take some of that and give it to Dominic Lovett? Because
is he gone yet? Is he staying? He's going.
Well,
right?
he's in the transfer portal. Yeah, I think he's in the transfer portal, wanting Missouri to use some of their collective money for him, as opposed to emptying the cash register for Luther Burden.
We got the chip deal. I saw.
Yeah,
got the chip deal.
You get Luther Burden, and Lovett is a phenomenal player, and he would be a stud on a lot of different teams.
How crazy is it
I hope
now?
Nothing but the best for Lovett.
That piece of news that Josh just dropped is news now, that you have to say that a star player is returning.
That's right.
For his sophomore year and not transferring somewhere else. That's news now.
But that was kind of the reaction yesterday. Was once the news came out that Lovett was going to transfer, it was immediate. What about Luther Burden? Are they going to lose Lovett and Burden in the same offseason? And how bad would that be for St. Louis kids if you lose Lovett and Burden in the same offseason? That your Eli is there, who's been middle of the pack, but his recruiting has been outstanding, and you give him the contract extension. And then 2 of the bigger guys in recruiting then transfer right after the season is over would be a bad look. But yes, it is big news when Luther Burden says, I'm not going anywhere, I'm staying at Mizzou. But also the NIL's been there for Luther Burden, and I don't know how much love it's getting. And if there's other schools that are saying, dude, you understand how much money we're going to give you if you come here and play? Love it. You might be the best wide receiver for a lot of different teams. And he did that with Brady Cook. So
how tough is it now? I mean, recruiting's always been tough, and it's always been the bane of all coaches' existence. But now you have to recruit the players you have to stay. It's like, all right, you're going to Kansas City, you're going to Columbia, we got you going down to Dallas, you to Miami, Fort Lauderdale. You 3 are going to go over to the athletic dorms. Okay, just going to walk over there. Where the current players are staying. We've got this list of 15 guys that we need to make sure you love up.
You have to recruit top 100 players, and even more than that, but top 100 players at least, like these high 4- and 5-star guys. You got to recruit them 4 times. The first time to get them to commit, the second time to keep their commitment, the third time to stay after their freshman year, and the 4th time to stay after their sophomore year. Because after junior year, they're going pro. Or it may not matter at that point, but if you're talking about stud difference-making players, 4 times you got to recruit that kid to stay. And the odds of all you going 4 for 4 in today's day and age are probably pretty slim.
And there's a lot of coaches, and they're kind of in like the examples I'm going to throw out, like Bill Snyder and Mike Gundy, to where like they're not going to get a whole lot of 5-star guys to begin with. It's almost like they're like, why go through that headache when we trust our staff? We'll swim in the 3-star pool over here, and we'll turn guys like Justin Blackman into a Blitnikoff winner, right? Yeah. And other guys, to where like you spend so much time when it's going to be Alabama, Georgia, it's going to be USC, 5 or 6 other schools that get. I mean, how many 5-stars are there every year?
There's
not
like
too many.
20 or 25.
Yeah.
5-star guys.
They're going to split up those 5-star guys, and even 4 stars for a lot. I mean, The Mays quarterback is a 4-star guy, the number 8 quarterback in the country, offered by A&M, Oregon, Florida State, Notre Dame, and chose to stay home. He was a big K-State fan growing up, so it's a huge kid. I don't know when was the last time K-State got a 4-star guy. Probably been a while. I don't know. I might be
it's gotta
missing somebody.
Yeah, no, it's got to be. If I went to 24/7 and looked up that, I think he would. Yeah, I think it would have been.
Because you got to be pretty special to get that 4-star, too. And you consider it, I mean, he's the number 8 quarterback in the country and not even a 5-star. That's how few those 5 stars to give out.
Well, Lovett looks like he's going to end up at LSU as Steeples, who's from St. Louis, has a great relationship in St. Louis.
Matt House. Of course, he's on the defensive side.
Yeah, that's right.
Find the local connection at all costs.
Well, the local connection is Steeples in St. Louis and recruiting to LSU and getting St. Louis kids down to LSU and a relationship with Lovett, and Lovett is now transferring.
It's opposite. You think, you think, okay, we're in Missouri. We need somebody from, Baton Rouge. We need somebody from the Bayou State to get those kids down there. And it's the opposite because St. Louis does turn out good talent.
Yep. So he was at DeSmet for a while, was Robert Steeples, and then he went to the NFL for a few years before Brian Kelly hired him at LSU. And
Lee Summit North, localize it, just beat DeSmet to get to the state championship.
Absolutely. So he's got the connection in St. Louis. And so Steeples is getting some St. Louis kids, and the expectation is that Lovett's going to go to LSU. And you know what? I hope nothing but the best for Lovett. He was awesome for Missouri and made a lot of plays, and good for him. If he's going to go there and get a lot of money, if LSU is going to take care of him, and Missouri doesn't have.
Supposedly the whole deal is NIL. It's not
seems like
number of.
You got a French fry deal that is absolutely huge.
Because next year is going to be. It'll be, again, he and Luther Burden with a quarterback that's expected to be able to throw the football in Sam Horn.
Mm-hmm.
But, Missouri doesn't have the money that LSU has with a collective. And if you're spending a lot of it on Luther Burden, to get him, is there enough to go around with a lot of other guys until that collective
hate that, by the
increases,
way. Right, I hate it. I was on board with the the Olympic model or whatever it is. Okay, you can make money off name, image, likeness, but I mean, that's just a big old step toward professional sports.
It's getting there, but look, I hope Lovett goes and gets taken care of. And every dollar he can get, good for him. And hopefully Eli Drinkets can continue to recruit, because they're still going to have a good wide receiving core next year. They just need a quarterback who can get the ball to them more consistently.
You don't hope that he rues the day he transferred down.
No, not at all.
You don't want any regret there.
No, I mean, if it's regret for him, like Missouri's awesome, and he's like, damn, I wish I was there enjoying that, them playing in the SEC championship. That'd be badass against LSU. And then they win, and he's like, oh, I could have been over there winning the SEC championship. Instead, I'm over here at LSU, and we lost, and we suck, and now they're playing for the national title. Damn it, I knew Eli was going to get one. Like, that'd be great. I don't know why he sounds like that, but, that'd be great. I just don't think that's going to be the case. And, if he regrets it, he regrets it. But I'm not rooting for him to regret his decision. I'm rooting for him to go and have success. I hope he does. Does Missouri play LSU next year? If they do, I hope he doesn't have success in that game. But Missouri should be good enough offensively if a quarterback can get the ball more consistently to the playmakers that they can overcome losing even a playmaker like Dominic Lovett, because they're not trying to win a national title. They're trying to move up incrementally in the SEC East. LSU's trying to win a national championship. They need the players like a Dominic Lovett. Missouri does too, but.
And honestly, I don't think you need to change the NIL rule to kind of quell that. It's the transfer, or like that. I mean, now you can just transfer and play right away. I mean, if you had the year sit out, I think it staves off a lot of that stuff.
But yeah, I mean, you gotta recruit them to get the commitment first. Then once they commit, every other school knows exactly who they're recruiting against. So it's not like we're recruiting against 10 teams. No, recruiting against one. That guy committed there. We know who we have to beat. That team, whatever it is. So you got to recruit them to keep the commitment. And then after freshman and sophomore year. They had to do some more commitment with or recruiting for Luther Burden. And it was a big deal that he announced that he's going to stay. Hopefully that ends up being the case.
How confusing is senior night now? We had 21 guys. Okay, 9 we know for sure will be done playing after this year. 6 actually are going to use their COVID year, come back, and then 6 others are going to play, but somewhere else next year.
Yeah.
October 7th at Mizzou. LSU comes to visit. Revenge game. I mean, that right there. Go ahead, play. Open up DraftKings right now, Jason. You got it. You got about a year.
Mind you, he has not committed to LSU or anything. It's just the expectation is that
revenge game.
He was going to transfer and then go to LSU.
Maybe he'll come back to Mizzou, and that'll be a revenge game the other way.
Hopefully that's the case.
That's great.
Yeah. So, also, as a total quick aside,
doesn't sound like us.
After the game Saturday, I don't remember who it was, but tweeted out that Dominic Lovett was going to transfer.
I saw that.
I mean, it's quintessential Twitter that this Reid Pryor says, hate to say it, but Lovett's going to transfer. This was after the game where somebody had tweeted out, said Mekhi Miller, Mookie Cooper, Luther Burden, and Dominic Lovett are going to be dangerous next year. Said, hate to say it, but Lovett's transferring. And it just became a cesspool of people just going at him. You don't know anything. You suck. You're dumb.
Is he a reporter or is he a guy?
I'm not sure.
And this was on Twitter?
Yeah.
It became a cesspool really fast, even though the person was right?
It's weird. It's weird.
Sound right.
But there's a lot of apologies that I don't think ever made it that way once Dominic Lovett announced that he was going to transfer, since that guy got it right. You're just making stuff up. You're dumb. You've got no sources. You've got no nothing. You're an idiot. Blah, blah, blah. Oh, you're rooting for him to transfer. Blah, blah.
To be fair, there's a lot of that on Twitter as well.
That is true. That is true. But before it's like, name calling, like you're dumb, you're an idiot, you don't know anything. Like, well, wait till less than 24 hours later, the guy was right. It's not like the who's the reporter down in Alabama or down in Mississippi that's had Lane Kiffin going to Auburn for the last month.
Yeah.
And continues to report
Sokol or something like that.
And then reported earlier last week, I think it was Wednesday, that Lane Kiffin was going to step down after the game against Mississippi State and take the Auburn job. Like it reported, he will step down. And then he signs an extension. And then he writes about it and was like, well, here's the way it went down. These were the sources. This is what was happening at the time. Lane Kiffin was going to step down, and then conversations with Auburn, and then blah, 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 and whatever it might be. So, yes, there is that as well. That
the freelancer for the Lawrence Journal-World who had Jalen Daniels having season-ending surgery.
Yeah.
And then now he's back playing.
He is back playing. Didn't do enough against K-State over the weekend, though. K-State goes and wins by 20, and again, I think they're beating TCU. I've got them to beat TCU.
Any Chiefs fans watching that game get that muff punt right at the beginning and just immediately get nervous and then have all of your fears come true 24 hours later again?
Yeah.
It's a rough start. I don't want to see anybody muff a punt ever again.
Except the Chiefs didn't need... The muff punt wasn't going to hurt... Shouldn't have hurt the Chiefs in the game against the Rams. It did against the Colts, but it shouldn't have hurt them in the game against the Rams. It obviously was crucial for K-State and KU for KU to get as many possessions as possible, because from the second that happened, they were playing,
playing from behind,
playing uphill.
Yeah,
just an uphill battle, just to sort of feel like, okay, they're back in it. Oh no, they're not. Oh hey, you know what? Another good offensive possession. They're back in it. Oh no, they're not.
Playing literally uphill because they were going from their own side of the field towards the middle of the field, which we've all discovered.
I think KU fans could take a lot of good things away from that game. I mean, that's a really good K-State defense that you were able to score, 5 times on, and put together some stuff. KU fans knew their defense has some issues. It needs to get better, and they showed it that night. But thanks to Oklahoma State, you have 6 wins.
That's right. Got the 6th, 6-6, and then K-State getting ready for TCU Saturday, 11 o'clock on Fox. 2.5-point dogs, K-State right now. Give me the money line.
Money line?
Give me the money line for K-State. They're winning that game. Even though TCU went out and just put all doubt aside of, is Iowa State going to pull off the upset on TCU? I don't know. They're was 9. I kind of like Iowa State plus the points. They covered that in the first 5 minutes of the game when they were up 13-0.
Yeah.
All right, they're going to roll in this game. You better hammer whatever the live number is, because Iowa State's not going to be fighting back here to get win number 4 on the season, while TCU is going for style points to try to impress the committee. You might want to ride that TCU -15, -16, whatever it might be at DraftKings, the live odds, as they came out and just went all over Iowa State over the weekend. So still taking K-State. What was your feeling coming out of that Chiefs game yesterday? That's what we've been kind of discussing. It's like,
really?
we're so spoiled, though.
Absolutely. But I mean, I wanted to come in and just taunt you. Like, I told you about that 15.5-point line. And then that was a big kick. That was a big kick for some.
Late field goal, baby.
But, I mean, yeah, that's just, I honestly didn't realize how bad that Rams offense was going to look. And that was a game. I mean, just the last possession that led to the final field goal for the Chiefs was, my son said, he's like, that was just so sad. I'm like, I know. It was a sad possession.
Sad.
Who are you? What are you doing? You're just
sad.
Running the ball every play, even in the red zone, when you know you're not going to score. Just playing for 3 to turn a 2-possession game into a 2-possession game. But honestly, it doesn't matter, so I can't get that mad. That was just sad. That was sad. And I am not fully on board with the, like, well, you got to get too cute around the goal line crowd, because, look, when they get ugly, it doesn't work. And by ugly, I mean just running the football and trying to
running NFL football plays.
Mouth football. That doesn't work. So is there room between cute and ugly? Yes, I think there is. I think you can do standard, play action, roll out Mahomes, flood one side with a bunch of out routes, let him pick this guy, or run it in. I would do that more often than not. But I'm not, maybe that one was a little too cute. I'm like, okay, what are we doing? Okay, everybody in the world can see what's happening here. Mahomes backing up for the lateral. But I like a lot of the plays. I like a lot of the shovel passes. I like the sending Mahomes in motion, snapping to Kelsey, that kind of stuff. Maybe that one got a little too cute for me. But people celebrate when it works, right? And nobody says, man, it was too cute, hated that. They scored, but no, everyone's like, oh, what a play.
I feel like Watson was open on that throwback down in the corner of the end zone, and he forced it to Kelsey, which whatever. Kelsey was open. He just threw it there a little bit late. I think both can be true. I think both. There was the, okay, do you got to get too fancy on the throwback or whatever, while also feeling like the rest of the plays inside the red zone were kind of vanilla. Or inside the 10-yard line were kind of vanilla. That you say, boy, it kind of seemed like they were generic plays. Well, yeah, but they did that throwback, that trick play. Well, yeah, you can have one crazy, wild, off-the-cuff play while the other 15 are just like kind of generic.
They're still trying to run on first down a lot in there, and it doesn't work.
Are you really trying to open up the playbook and get in your bag if you're Andy Reid against the Rams in a game where you don't feel like you're going to lose that one and you've got the Bengals next week?
Yeah.
I would rather them just say, well, let's be generic, get out of there, and it may not be a great feeling after the game is over, winning 26-10 and going 1 of 6 in the red zone and 0 of 3 for touchdowns in the final 3 red zone trips. But if that means, one, they come out of that game being pissed about how they executed in the red zone and, goal-to-go situations, then that's good because, extra focus against the Bengals. And if you were just totally generic and vanilla, then, hey, some things that you might be able to throw out there against the Bengals next week where you'd better be closer to your season average of 72% in the red zone.
They should have scored a touchdown on when it's 23-10, right? That's when he threw the interception. Was it 23-10 to make it 30-10? And they should have scored another touchdown there instead of kicking the field goal at the end to make it 37-10 and then giving up a garbage touchdown at the end to make it 37-17.
Would have been great.
Hit.
That's actually what I picked was 37-17.
You envisioned that game perfectly.
Yeah.
The Chiefs didn't
It's
execute.
the Chiefs' fault that you weren't right.
Just as I took the Chiefs minus 15.5 and the over 42.5. It got to 36. They went 1 of 6 in the red zone and had one where they didn't even score, and they were 7 points away from the over.
Trey Smith owes you 40 fake dollars. 60 fake dollars? How many fake dollars did we lose?
Well, Trey Smith, that still resulted in 3, so that was only 4 points. That would only got it to 40.
Okay, that's okay. Good point.
The
he
interception,
owes us a few fake dollars.
The interception would have been
Mahomes owes you
money.
What's
Trey Smith and Mahomes interception cost me no money whatsoever.
Some fake money.
The fake money that we do here at the station with the different shows that gamble.
Well, I lost real money, so.
Well, you should be mad.
Yeah, because you didn't listen to me. I told you that was an easy cover. They're going to cover that thing by at least a half point.
I was like, do you remember games? Do you watch the Chiefs?
Do you remember games?
Do you remember games?
Do you remember games? I think Brisco had this one right. In a few weeks, we will not remember the Rams game.
No. I just think it's going to, they did play the whole NFC West.
Yeah.
They killed the Cardinals.
They're like 2 of those games every year.
Yep.
Chiefs beat the Eagles last year, right?
Mhm.
I get reminded of that. I'm like, oh yeah, I don't remember like any big plays in that game.
I remember the defense in that game.
Yeah, I think the
in the flats.
Yeah, that's right. Hurts looked like Johnny Unitas. I remember that.
And the defense looked like it was playing on 0.75 speed.
He is the second betting favorite for the MVP now. Jalen Hurts is. I think the Rams and the Jags are the two games this year that might be like, oh yeah, that's right, they did play the Jags.
Yes.
Oh, that was the game where they had the onside kick. Just, yeah, that matter.
I think
No, it
Cardinals might be in that group.
But
Only
Cardinals
thing
was
saving it
first
is
game
it
of the
was
season opener, and it was like, oh, it's a big game. So.
It was the first game of the last year of that regime. Got to keep that in mind. It was the beginning of the end.
That's right. All right, that was the beginning of the end of this segment. We'll take a timeout. Learn funniest best on the other side. More Zone next.
Follow the show on Twitter at J810Anderson, at JB Brisco, at Beards McFly, and at Sports Radio 810. You're in the zone.
Nonstop. Right hand, left hand, nonstop, Josh.
With Jason Anderson.
At the time, it is the only thing I want to do.
Yeah.
The next day, I 100% regret it every time.
Yeah.
On Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right, we'll learn funniest best here on Sports Radio 810 WHB on this Monday edition of the show. Portugal and Uruguay. It is still tied at 0. Uruguay with a great opportunity to score, but a fantastic save by Portugal. So still 0-0 in that one. 24 hours from now, we'll be giving you updates on what'll be the end or getting close to the end or middle of the second half for United States and Iran in a win and advance tie, and it doesn't matter. Do they pull their goalie if they're tied at the end, just to push forward?
I think that's how that works.
Down with that.
Do it, man. Because, a loss doesn't matter. It's the same thing. All right, 913-912-4810. Let's get into Learn Funniest Best. We go around the room, what we learned from the weekend, the funniest from the weekend, and the best from the weekend. What I learned this weekend is that Seattle takes the 12th man a little too literally. Okay, the Seattle Seahawks took the 12th man a little too literally. Did you see this play?
Yes.
No.
So early on in the game, first play of the game, Derek Carr throws an interception. And Seattle intercepts the ball. As they're running on the return, a player, number 52, comes off the sideline and runs out on the field and starts blocking. He was not a part of the play to where you're like, did he just get pushed over there? No, they show him before the play and he's standing on the sideline. They show the interception, he's standing on the sideline. The player gets up, he runs out onto the field and starts blocking.
I have a theory on this. I think I know what actually happened.
I think we have the same theory, but no, you go ahead. I want to know what your theory is, and I'll tell you if I agree or not.
The interceptor went down with the ball, and I think that he was running off the sideline to celebrate, and then had a real record scratch moment of, you're probably wondering how I got here to be the 12th man.
But he still then went and rounded off his run and made contact.
It was a good block.
With a Raiders player.
It was a good block.
And blended in. The officials none the wiser. But you're right. He intercepts the ball and he falls down. And as he starts to get up, the player's running onto the field almost to celebrate with the teammates. But the play wasn't over.
It wasn't done yet.
So I learned that they really love the 12th man.
That's got to be a penalty.
I'm surprised it doesn't happen more often because the refs already have a ton of stuff to look at.
Are they going to know
you
a
could
guy
probably
runs
get away
on...
with it?
Yes,
absolutely.
Can you replay that?
Can you start doing that?
I've seen 12 men on the field.
12 men on the field is replay, but is at the beginning of the play? Can you go back and replay?
I would guess.
I've never seen a player run onto the field mid snap like that. I guess I've never really considered it.
Was it like KU hitting a last second shot in the Bahamas and the two guys ran onto the court? Get called?
No. That would have been
like
more
6th and 7th men.
That would have been more significant because this, I think, would have just been a penalty from the intercepting, the spot of the interception.
I guess, but I've never seen penalty on the defense after the interception. A 12th player ran onto the field, kind of threw a block, but looked sorry about it. I've never seen that before.
So that's what I learned. There's a 12th man in Seattle, and they take it too literally. Josh, what did you learn?
I learned this from Robert Mays in the Athletic Football Show. Which is already pretty surprising. In the last 10 years, there have been, I think, total now 7 NFL coaches who went one and done. Mike Mularkey in 2012, Rob Chudzinski in 2013, Jim Tomsula in 2015, Chip Kelly in 2016, Steve Wilkes in 2018, and Urban Meyer in 2021. You also have Freddie Kitchens, who is one and done with the Browns, holding him off for a second. The other coach I just mentioned, every single one of those teams before the season had Super Bowl odds of 100-1 or longer. Kitchens, I went back and looked, the Browns that year were about 18-1. The Broncos' Super Bowl odds coming into this season were about 17-1. And as Robert laid out, might be the most disappointing team of the decade in the NFL, these Denver Broncos.
So The Browns actually had 18-1.
I was
Super
looking
Bowl odds at one point.
He remembered Kitchens later on in the show, so I went and did my own research on this one, which all the best minds do, and I found stories about the Browns being a hot, like, up and coming sleeper Super Bowl
Was
pick.
that when they traded for Odell Beckham Jr. and Baker Mayfield after the year when they fired Hugh Jackson and Baker Mayfield burst onto the scene? It's
it had to have been.
So they had all these expectations and how good they're going to be.
Well, it wasn't the year they lost
signing
the
Jarvis
Chiefs
Landry.
because
Was
that
that
wasn't
sort of the
Freddie
same?
Kitchens.
Yeah, signing Jarvis Landry and all that stuff.
I think
might have
that
been the
sounds
same
right.
year. I don't know. But yeah, that's
Broncos historically underperforming.
Yeah, not sure that he can remain next year. What'd you learn, Mick?
So I learned that Kansas State has the third longest win streak over a rival in uninterrupted games at 14 over KU.
Wow.
Do you want to guess? First and second. It involves the same school winning both times.
KU over Texas.
Uninterrupted.
Okay.
No, it's
No, they
uninterrupted. So it can't be like from Big 12 unless it's kind of Big 12 North schools or Big 12 South together or whatever.
And it's current?
Current.
Oh, currently ongoing.
Yeah, don't think outside the box here on this one. On the winner.
It's K-State.
This is nationally. It's
I
not.
thought you said it involved the same teams.
Not the
You
same
meant
teams.
that-
that
got
First
it.
and second involved the.
Alabama over somebody.
Yes.
Georgia over somebody.
No, it's Alabama both times.
Damn
You
it.
guys are not listening to me.
Well, once he said Alabama, I figured it was out, but I'm trying to think of who it is. It can't be Auburn because of the kick six.
Right. So it's got to be somebody in the West.
Alabama A&M. Nope, because Jimbo beat them. Alabama LSU? Nope,
no,
because
it's
Burrow.
You only got a couple more to guess.
I mean,
Alabama Mizzou.
No. It's 15 and 16 years in a row.
Alabama Ole Miss, Alabama Mississippi State.
Mississippi State, and one more I think in the division you haven't named.
No, that's it. Those are the only ones in the division. There's no
Alabama,
other,
Arkansas.
There's no other
is
team
the longest
in the division.
win streak for a school over another in an uninterrupted.
Okay, but why would Jason have been watching Arkansas football at any point recently?
Point,
I mean,
Yeah, no, I watched the Missouri game. I didn't watch the
they got
Arkansas
a
game.
one game streak over there.
You're
hey,
damn right.
there you go.
Take that, Arkansas. What'd you learn, Beards?
I learned that the Rams subreddit might just be dead.
Okay.
For comparison, the Kansas City Chiefs subreddit, which has about 150,000 followers, their game thread yesterday had 4.9 thousand comments in it. It's pretty normal, pretty good number. The Rams subreddit yesterday, who had 450,000 followers, had 984 comments total.
But at least there's some to choose from, though, for sad fans, right?
I guess this is going to be one of those weeks where I guess I have to go find what sad Broncos fans said again.
Oh, no, I'd hate that.
Shucks.
Worse.
Hate that.
I know. But yeah, they're dead. They're also their post-game thread had 82 comments.
Because they just stopped watching. They won the Super Bowl. You got to live in that. What was your funniest from the weekend, Josh?
From our friend Field Yates. I don't know if you've been following in the AFC West here, but the Denver Broncos have been having some struggles recently, guys. From Field, the Broncos scored 10 points yesterday, falling to the Panthers 23-10. That's the funniest on its own. Denver is now down to 14.27 points per game this season, the worst by any team in the NFL since the 2000 Browns. This continues my theme of the Broncos perhaps being the most disappointing football team, if not of the last decade, maybe of this millennium.
Wow. They're scoring fewer points than the Houston Texans. What was your funniest from the weekend, Mick?
It's a tie between the Pitt College player in like a huge, like dominating win over Miami, going psychopath on the sideline, grabbing his helmet, smashing it on the ground, and then smashing it on his own head, his own helmetless head, as it was, repeatedly over and over again, and the players behind them, like recoiling, like they're watching a horror movie. It was that bad, and I don't know what his deal is, but I kind of want to learn more from a distance, of course. And then it's a tie between that and running back Brian Robinson of the Commanders wearing a big hat.
Oh, I like a big hat.
You're my best, Mick.
That big hat.
You always do NBA.
Wow. The big hat.
He says
great.
his friend has a big hat company. And athletes are often trendsetters, but they often do stupid stuff like was it LeBron with and the NBA players with the shorts with the suit?
Yeah.
That lasted 2 seconds. That was stupid. This is stupider.
Brian Robinson
funny.
is just a really good friend. That's what that is. He's a really good friend to try to help his friend's business out.
I think it's going to help because there's idiots out there. They're going to buy that.
Really big hat. Josh, you're a hat guy.
I had the website open earlier in the show.
Okay.
They're like $75.
A regular fitted hat looks big on me. There's no way.
That's true.
At least Jamar Chase's good friend invented the gritty. At least that's what Jamar. I'm being
Is
a good
that right?
friend. Yeah, Jamar Chase, like best friend in high school.
I thought it was like from some music video or something like that.
They did Young Boy Never Broke Again did a song synced up with the gritty.
Oh, of course he did.
But the gritty was already invented by Jamar Chase's best friend, and they went to LSU, and Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson did it at LSU.
Wow.
Then Young Boy NBA did the right foot creep to the gritty, and then Justin Jefferson brought the gritty into the NFL on his first touchdown reception his rookie year on like an 80-yard touchdown. He actually did the gritty into the end zone because there was nobody around him.
I don't know what any of those words just meant.
Okay, so first of all, Beards, I do want you to just mark it so we can have out of context on Friday Mick just saying the phrase, young boy never broke again. I always like to hear that.
I didn't say it.
Sorry, I meant Jason.
Me.
Yeah.
I get names confused sometimes. That's what I do on the show.
Well, you're new to the show. You just showed up today.
You've said both Young Boy Never Broke Again and NBA Young Boy. I don't remember which one actually did this. I was going to go to Mick to clarify between the two because I get it confused as well. There's two Young Boy rappers.
I thought they were the same guy. I thought Young Boy NBA was Never Broke Again. Young Boy NBA, Young Boy Never Broke Again.
I still don't know what it is.
No, I think it was Young Broke Boy NBA again.
Hold on, I thought these were two separate people.
Am I not the broke boy?
Don't be just whatever you do, never be broke again.
Either way, Brian Robinson's a good friend by wearing that.
I just
dumbass
learned
hat.
that Young Boy is the same twice. I thought this was a Lil Baby, Dub Baby situation of two names that are very similar for two separate artists. This is shocking.
Well,
this is what I learned this week. Forget the Bronco stat from earlier.
So what was the dance that Pacheco did yesterday?
That was Lil Uzi Vert. Why is this so confusing?
Learn some mainstream stuff, Josh, okay?
What happened to the electric slide? Why don't they just do the electric slide in the end zone? What was your funniest?
Watch E.T. Learn, watch
Beards?
that and don't learn this other stuff.
Beard, your funniest?
My funniest was, I saw this clip on Twitter. It's from the Grambling State and Southern game. It was like coming back from a TV timeout or whatever. There was a guy sitting with his family. He had something looked like circular and a little long in his hand with a lighter running underneath it. And the TV camera then cut away because they're like, oh, we don't want anything illegal going on here. Turns out he was just heating up a rib on the sideline with a lighter. So
a big lighter.
With a lighter.
Yes.
I have one Bronco stat for you, Josh.
Oh, please.
Carson Wentz has 2 more touchdowns than Russ, and he hasn't played since week 6.
Oh, that's pretty good.
That's brilliant. All right, so I have two funniest because why not? And Beards is already telling us we're running low on time, but I don't care. We got to play them both. So this started circulating yesterday on Twitter, and I thought it was one of the most hilarious commercials I've ever heard. It's about 10 years old. I don't care, but it was my funniest from the weekend, which then was connected to another commercial from about 10 years ago that people were talking about. So here's the first one. This is an amazing ad for Roller Kingdom in Reno. This goes so many different directions. It's unbelievable. Take a listen to this TV spot, still works on radio, for Roller Kingdom for kids in Reno.
Hey kid, would you like some drugs? The first one is free.
Want to check out my van? I got some candy.
Hey kid, want to join our gang and spray paint under a bridge?
No! Bug off, man. I'm going roller skating. I want to be addicted to roller skating, not crack. Because we roller skate today, we will go to college tomorrow. Prison is full of people that has never roller skated.
Oh my God.
I'm Brad Armstrong, owner of Roller Kingdom in Reno, Nevada, keeping your kids off the streets since 1999.
I say no to drugs. I say no to gangs.
I say no to unplanned pregnancy.
I say no to meth. I say no to reefer. I say yes to roller skating.
Man, this Roller Kingdom is really putting us out of business.
You said it, man. This deal sucks.
But you know what? Maybe we should give up this life of crime and start roller skating.
I've got to see this commercial,
Greatest commercial ever.
Wow.
And of course, then that was linked to one of the other great
Nothing
commercials.
ties that. You can't have another
just
funniest.
one more. This is for a taxidermy.
I know this one.
Okay, this is the taxidermy. This is great.
You probably thought this deer was alive, and this coyote was alive, and this pheasant was alive. Nope, they're not. They're dead. They've been taxidermized by Chuck Testa. Ojai Valley Taxidermy. I specialize in the most lifelike dead animals anywhere, period.
Look at that antelope driving a car.
Nope, it's just
Chuck
Chuck
Testa.
Testa.
Oh no, there's a bear in my bed.
Nope, Chuck Testa.
Chuck's in the bed.
Hold on a second. There's a leopard feeding on an impala out on my deck.
Nope, it's just Chuck Testa with another realistic mount. Shipped to me from anywhere. Call Chuck Testa for the most lifelike dead animals around, period.
Did that rhino just order a drink?
Nope.
Chuck Testa does not taxidermize pet.
We'll do the best on the other side of the break. Best of the weekend. We'll start with Mick Morzone next.
Take the show with you by listening live on 810WHB.com, in the 810 mobile app, or by subscribing to The Zone wherever you get your podcasts. You're in the zone with Jason Anderson.
Is this really Jason Anderson?
On Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right, best, real quick. Here's my best from the weekend. Take it away, Bill Walton.
You're in the zone.
Nope, that's not him.
That's not Bill Walton.
That's not Bill Walton.
Let's sing happy birthday to Phil Knight on his 85th birthday. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Phil. Happy birthday to you.
They're doing an Oregon State game.
Yeah, this is the Bill Knight Invitational.
I love Beavers.
Oh, boy.
All right, what was your best from the weekend?
Davion Harris. He was basically Jason Anderson in high school. Had like 3 catches the whole year. 3 touchdowns in the state championship game for Mill Valley. Well done, Davion.
Awesome.
And the Jags.
Congrats, Davion. Josh?
My best is Jason teaching me that NBA stands for Never Broke Again.
Ryan Robinson's big hat.
Big hat.
Big hat. Big hats, everybody. Text.
When you